What's up, guys? I just thought we'd jam to this music for a little bit. Hey, what's up, folks? I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're not going to learn anything today. I always say that. You'll probably learn something. Somewhere, someone's going to sneak me a question. But this is not my usual Q&A live stream. This is Liftoff. Because, as you can hear from the background music, Liftoff is free on Steam this weekend. It's a little promo Steam does sometimes. Where basically you just get to play the game free all weekend. You just play it for 72 straight hours. You know, hey, and then on Monday, oh, no, it's gone. Now you have to buy it. But I thought in order to celebrate this and just have fun with folks who might not have been able to play Liftoff before, I would get on here. The truth is, I've always wanted to be a gamer, like a live streaming gamer, but I never got into that in YouTube. I missed the boat. So this is my secret way of getting to be a gamer. No. Highlight FPV. Yeah, you've already paid for it, then you get your money back, but on Monday you have to give it back again. So if you need like a $19 loan, then this is the weekend for you. I watched Dr. Disrespect. That is true, but I'm not sure how you knew that. How did you know that? I mean, it's not a secret. The good doctor is really a mentor to everyone on the internet. Yes, Craig Shivers, you can have multiple models on Crossfire and the Tyrannus. You can, but they all need to be set up the same. Now, I know that it's like 10 a.m. on a Friday here in the U.S. That's why I'm having my cup of coffee this morning. Hang on a second. Just refresh this. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the good stuff. Oh, yeah. That's the good stuff. But for many of you over there in the land of free healthcare, it is the afternoon coming up on the end of the day. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to play. I'm going to post a public room, and then I don't even know how it's going to go. People are just going to jump in the room. Hopefully we'll have some audio. And no, it's not orange coffee. It's just regular coffee with cream. It's got cream in it. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, let me. Hello. There we are. Absolutely, Tyler. That's what I do. Rod Mingo looking to get Liftoff with a laptop with an i7-7700 NVIDIA 1050 provide a good experience. I'm not 100% sure what the actual requirements are. I'm hoping to get one of the devs, one of the LuGus devs on to play with me, and maybe we could talk about it. But I think the i7-7700 and NVIDIA 1050, the NVIDIA 1050 is a pretty high-end card. I mean, it's not like a 1080, but I think you'd be fine. You'd definitely, I think, be able to play. I think it's like a 960 in my laptop, and it doesn't play on the best settings, but it does play. So I think you'll be all right there. So let's see. I'm going to do Infinite Race. And we're going to start. I promise you we're not just going to race Bardwell's Yard all day, but how could I start on any track other than Bardwell's Yard? And let's create this room. You play, wow, Tyler PWM, you play on the highest settings on a 670? Wow, that's pretty impressive, actually. I'm really kind of impressed. DMB FPV, I disagree that Liftoff is not demanding at all. A lot of people struggle a little bit to get their PC to play it. I mean, there's people with really low-end stuff that have trouble with it, but it will play on a mid-tier PC. All right, create room. Now, I am creating the room, and I think I just created a public room. You don't like the music? You don't like the music? It's so... I'm just really into... Oh, people are already in the room. Now the question is, can I... No, I can't change the music right now. I don't think I can. The question is right now, do any of you have audio? Because this is the problem. This is why the stream started late. We were trying to get one of the Liftoff devs in to play with us, and I was not getting any audio. And I'm guessing the answer is no, because I don't hear any of you talking. Yep. I don't know why that is. You have audio. You have audio, but I can't hear your audio. Well, let's join the game. I know you can hear me. No, that's not the question. Let's join the game. Let's see what we got going on here. Welcome to the room, guys. I wish I could hear you talking. Oh, this is... Oh, we're already going. Now, let's see how you guys are doing. Let's see. Can I... Yeah, I'm gonna just spectate briefly. No pressure. Well, oh, now I can do it. Escape options. Audio options. Okay. Can anybody tell me... I'm gonna turn the music down. I think probably having it will annoy more people than not having it. Why I can't hear you guys talking? Some of you definitely have mics. I can see that. And I don't hear you talking. I don't know. Eggman Ben, are you guys stuck on my quad too? Do you guys have the same quad as me? Interesting. It is, you should be able to change your up tilt and stuff. Let's see how we got here. The mighty Tebow. Oh yeah, you've done this before, Tebow. Now I'm a little bit annoyed that the devs put in... That's not a Jetta. My car is a VW Jetta. And, you know, I understand they did their best. But that is not actually... Okay. Whoa. A little freestyle there. That is one way to do a go-around. I'm actually impressed. I usually turn to the left. Yep. All right. I'm going to jump. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? There I am. Let's see. That's not me. No. Come here. Go here. Which one am I? We're going to... No, I want me. How about do I go back to myself? Uh-oh. Hang on. Is that me? Oh, there I am. Here we go. Let's see. I haven't practiced this in a while. Let's see how my first lap is. Now, this is 45 degrees up tilt. And it always takes me a minute to readjust to the up tilt at the beginning. 2, 3. At the beginning, it always takes me a minute to readjust. If I keep this room open, we will be... Is the best time really 12 seconds? Are you for real? Hold on. Now, I just saw this. Did you really put in a 12-second lap? Because I'd like to see that. Mr. D. Don't go away, Mr. D. Mr. D isn't running right now. You put a 12-second lap in? That's pathetic. And kick. All right. You're out of here. That's great. Let's see one. Let's show us how it's supposed to be done. I want you guys to notice down here in the lower left, the real pros basically run the whole race like at full throttle. And apparently crash a lot too. But you did finish 12-second. I think my best time when I was racing was Jesus, was like 21 seconds. Yeah, you guys are flying your own quads. No, you didn't all get stuck with the quad. I put the remix in. But, boom. Oh, very clever. Do you see what he did there? He did a little backflip at the beginning, so he had some momentum coming through. He didn't just start from the line. Do you do that every time? No, he doesn't do that every time. Alrighty. Well, this guy's pretty good. Let's see. Now, over here, Mighty Tebow, you're more my speed, Mighty Tebow, because you get a 24-second lap, and I put in, I think, like a 21-second lap. So I like you better because I slightly beat you, and I feel like, you know, if I have a very fragile ego. Get back to my screen. Here we go. All right, let's see what I can do. What's your Eggman Ben? Put in the chat since I can't hear you, unfortunately. What's your custom build? Because I know that the racers who get the really fast times generally are using some very fast build. Let's see. How do you change your tilt? Up and down arrow is to change your tilt. Yes. What do you want to know, Guillermo, about the Burning Man pick? What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? Nothing. Yep, we'll be kicking some of these people soon. It's an obsession. Armatan Gecko. It's way too fast. So is the Gecko one of the fastest builds on here? Interesting. 19-second finish. I can't figure out how to get back to. Are you? What are you doing here? What are you doing here, Revijim? There we go. Are you going? Are you going? There you go. Now, it looks like some people are dropping out of the room. So, you guys, the room is public. It's a public room. You guys can try and get in it. Let me see. Let me try and set a time. So, if people drop out, you can go ahead and jump in. Eventually, if I notice, I will kick some people and make room. Okay. But let me try and not embarrass myself by setting a time. 11-second, Mr. D. Okay, Mr. D, you're out of here. 11 seconds. I never claimed to be a racer. And it's a good thing because I just don't know how you really fast guys do it. I watch people, like, I'm lucky enough to live in Knoxville, which is where... Ah! Get there, get there, get there, get there! Ah, no. I'm lucky enough to live in Knoxville, which is where Evan Turner lives, and I get to watch him race every now and then. And it's just like, I don't even know what you're doing with your hands. Here we go. This is it. I'm gonna finish a lap. Now, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I figured this out though when I was doing the live stream with Stingy. You can actually go to the left of that tree and still get the, come on. You can still get the marker if you go to the left of that tree, and it cuts a little bit of time off your lap. Mr. D, pay attention. I wonder if he's already doing that. I feel so slow right now. I didn't do the tree. Can he finish a lap? Maybe so. Maybe not. Okay. This is going to be a really good lap. That guy? Got it. Got it. Okay, here we go. This is the part where I always crash. And that's how I know this is, you know, I could do that in real life. So, here we go. Setting a lap. Setting a lap. You can change your up tilt, Ignis Natus. You can change your up tilt by pressing the up and down arrows. And you can change your camera field of view by pressing left and right arrows. So Mr. D, I think, holds the current track record with 11.9. Yeah, you go this way, see? You still get that point. It makes the lap a little quicker. Although, I'm just, like, limping through it just to try and get a complete lap. Not even fast. It's 10 in the morning, guys. It's 10 in the morning. I'm barely even awake right now. That's my excuse. And I did a 33-second lap. New best lap. Okay. But I'm gonna get better. See, go right this way. Yeah. Now I'm gonna get it. My props are kind of red. Here we go. Oh, got it. Oh, will I complete 2 laps successfully? No, I won't. Let me see. Let me take a second. I'm gonna let you guys spectate. Who's good? Let's just watch Mr. D some more. Mr. D, you're the official co-host of this stream because you're currently the fastest. Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like in real life, watching someone with enormous up tilt go fast. Jesus. I'm going to see if I can get one of these LuGus guys on here. And maybe we can chat about Liftoff. It's just so extraordinary to me how some of you guys can go that fast with that much control. I really don't even... Yeah, there I am. Yep. How you can do that, I don't even know. I really don't know. Oh, 24-second. Grasslands Pilot, welcome to the room. 1913, welcome to the room. RV Gym 20. I think, let's see. What we got here? Julan Po. Those are the garden boxes. Yeah, we actually have those. Mr. D, it's in Drogs. Please ask them to make... Well, Ian, Ian, the bigger lobby, 6 is not enough, you say, but the problem is performance. And let me see if I can get... Let me see if I can get into a room with... I'm going to try, let's see. Can I... I'm going to go here. Hello, Kevin, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, there you are.
Awesome.
Let me check our levels. Your level sounds a little high. How about
I'll
now?
try the same. Test.
Yeah, that's not... What do I need to do? How about here? Try now.
Test. Hello?
Yeah. How about this? Yeah, okay, that's probably fine.
Test. Okay.
Yeah, so everybody, this is Kevin. Here I go. I'm Halterman. Do you say your name?
Kevin Halterman. Yeah,
Halterman.
it's Halterman. Yeah,
Halterman.
it's Dutch.
Yes. And you are... Who are you? What's your official title?
Well, actually, we don't do official titles at the studio, but if you want to describe my role within the company, I'm one of the founders, and I do mostly the communication stuff, community stuff. I manage the projects, a bit of everything, but my role used to be very much involved with development, but that's not the case anymore.
No, more moved into the management position.
Yeah, you could say that. Although sometimes I still try to do some UI work in Photoshop and such, but it's very limited.
And the other developers say, Kevin, just let us do it.
Well, I think they're doing a better job than I could do at this point. So of course,
they do a great job. And by the way, we're watching Mr. D. Are you watching Mr. D here on the stream, Kevin?
Well, no, I just quit the stream because I'm afraid of like the sound echo.
I got you. That's a good idea.
I'm actually trying to join the room, but it's full.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna kick somebody, and you can jump in. Hang on. I'm gonna pick Mr. D. Guess what, buddy? I'm gonna kick you out. Okay, how do I do that? Right click. Do I need to? How do I get him?
I'm sorry, Mr. D. I will give him some additional gift boxes.
Now, hang on. But how do I kick him, Kevin? Sorry, I'm right clicking. It's not working.
If you go to the room lobby,
I gotta go to the waiting room. No.
Yeah. And then you see 3 dots at the end of his name.
It's the waiting room, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to leave. Yeah. Sorry, I don't manage multiplayer rooms very often, but I have tech support right here. Okay, Mr.
Well,
D.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, you just got moderator rights in Liftoff. So normally you don't have these options unless you're a room host, which,
See
there's
if you can. Oh no.
Oh,
Sorry,
someone
Tyler.
joined
No,
immediately.
go ahead, Kevin. I'm going to keep kicking him. Sorry, Tyler, you're out. I'm trying to get. There we go. There's LuGus Studios. So we're gonna. I'm gonna jump back in, join game, and now let me ask you, Kevin. We've been watching Mr. D play, and Mr. D is freaking fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's LuGus Studios?
He's a fantastic player. I've seen him a few times online. It's crazy, and I don't. Yeah. Okay. So I hope I won't disappoint people when they see me fly.
Because I think a lot of people expect that the devs are going to be like the best at the game, and the devs are the best at making the game, but they're not necessarily the best at actually playing the game. You're putting in a good. I think you're going to be faster than me. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, but
you're doing respectively.
Maybe
it's your
just
first pack
a
of the
lucky
morning.
run.
It's your first pack of the morning too. I mean, you're only going to get faster.
Well, actually, the funny thing about it is I didn't trigger the first gate, so it doesn't even register a time.
I hate that. I hate that when I miss the marker. You didn't get the first gate. Is it rolling?
Yeah. So now it's let's see.
I don't see the time going. That must be my time. I think I accidentally started my own lap. I'm just sitting there on the start gate.
Oh, fuck.
I remember when we were working on this this map. So let's talk about this map for a minute. Because people ask how many days did they spend out at your site? And I say none. You guys did all of this work just based on topographical maps that are available on the internet, and then reference photos and video that I sent you. It's amazing.
The video was fantastic. Like it showed, like it's not just about dimensions and geometry, but it's also about the details. Like what does the wood look like exactly? What type of trees do you have? And it's these little details that are important to make it look authentic. And it's not 100% perfect, but it has the look and feel.
It's very good. It really feels. If you ever came and flew at my house, I think you'd be, well, you might not be surprised because you do this all the time, but it's really authentic feeling. I think people who fly here would do just fine. Some of the hardest thing to get, I think, is the little gaps in the tree branches, because, of course, the trees can't be perfectly modeled down to every branch.
Yeah.
But overall, the feeling of size and space, people say, oh, it's the boundaries are too small. It's too small an area. But I'm like, that's how small it feels in real life, too.
Yeah, and in fact, it's something that we were scared about. It's by far the smallest level, and actually the response has been very positive. We expected to get more reactions to the size of it, but people don't seem to care that much, which is cool. I appreciate that.
I asked you guys to restrict the boundaries of the level to my actual property, because I knew that someday someone would come to my house and fly after flying in the sim, and I didn't want them to have a habit of flying over my neighbor's house. I thought that, and plus you guys might have had to model my neighbor's house. I thought they might not appreciate that, so I said, well, let's just keep it on my property.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of privacy aspects as well, and yeah. But I mean, that was. It's a small environment, but it was still very complex to make, because the easiest thing to do for us is to make fictional environments. And with fictional, I don't mean these fantasy places, because that's not something that we do. Like things that look real but are not actual places, those are easiest. So we create a set of 3D models, and then we just place them wherever we want. We have a lot of artistic freedom. But when you create something in detail, based on a real place, that's a lot more work.
Yeah. I remember you guys commented you appreciated that I had some wooden pallets sitting around, because in the video you could see how big the pallets were, and the size of a pallet.
Yeah, and dimensions is really hard to do. It's the hardest thing, and especially like we have Pine Valley. That was one of our first levels, and so we noticed that people had some problems with perception of the size of everything. And so one of the things that we figured out, and it sounds silly, but if you ask someone how big is a tree, like most people, I mean, there's a large variety in sizes, but it's you would be surprised to know how big some trees are in real life. It's a crazy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, some trees are pretty big. Hold on, I'm screwing with there we go. We're back on your screen. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to get into the room and play a little bit, but I don't want to kick somebody who just joined. I'm trying to pay attention to the names of people who are in. Right. Grasslands Pilot, you've been in for a while. I'm not sure about Belesk 1913. I could just ask you guys as a courtesy to, after you've flown, 5 or 10 laps a little bit, had some fun. I wish we could. I don't know why my audio is not working in the Liftoff game, so we could hear these guys chatting.
I did get your audio, but we're not exactly sure what happened. Maybe there's a bug or something that we're not aware of.
It's probably on my end. If I had prepared better, I would have tested this yesterday. But yeah.
Well, you never know. It could always be a bug, and that's always the case. Whenever something has to perform, then it's bugged somehow. And
yeah. Somebody asked in the chat what programming language you used to build the game. What kind of tool? Let me generalize that. What kind of tools do you use to build the game?
Well, Liftoff is built on the Unity game engine. So, our programmers mostly use C#, of course. But then there's, if you look at graphics tools, it's anything from Photoshop and Illustrator to Blender, even Maya. Blender and Maya are 3D programs, and a lot of other stuff as well. So there's a lot involved.
Yeah, because it's not. I mean, with tools like this, you've got the game engine, which is Unity, and a lot of the work that you do is 3D modeling, texture creation, etc. It's not so much writing lines of code, although surely there's a lot of that as well. What?
It's a 50-50 thing. Like the lines of code, they have the biggest impact on the evolution of the game, but the artwork takes a bit longer to make. So in general, you could say it's a 50-50 thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how many people on your team are like more strictly coders versus 3D artists.
Well, there's 7 people full time at the studio, and 2 of them are mostly artwork. But then some of our programmers also can model and such. So it's our team members are very flexible in what they can do. So instead of like if one of the programmers says like, oh, I need this 3D model, like a new battery or something like that, often they simply make it themselves because they know exactly what they want. That's a bit easier. So yeah.
I'm trying to put a lap in here while I talk to you. I just did a 50-second lap. It's hard to talk. I don't know how people do it. It's hard to talk and play at the same time.
I was about to say the same. I've always wondered what it's like to commentate and fly at the same time, and now I'm doing it, and I expected it to be a bit harder, but it's still. You can't concentrate that well. So
that's my excuse for why I'm flying badly.
Yeah. It's also a hard track. I think it's one of the hardest ones.
And I'm not really a racer per se. I really appreciate that you guys made the track. I actually have worked a little bit on putting a track together of some of my favorite lines around the course. But as soon as I sat down to do it, I realized how hard it is to really design a good race course that's interesting and challenging, but also not just stupid. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and to be honest, like most of the official tracks, including this one, that's still something that I do from time to time, making the tracks, and I think I made this one, and it's mostly a collection of what I call happy accidents. Like you start building in a certain direction, and then just look for what makes sense as the next step, and if there's a nice flow in the lines that you create, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's And it's something that you need to want to do. Like there's some people in the community, they like building these tracks more than they like flying in Liftoff, and that's fantastic. And it's just whatever you prefer to do.
There are some really crazy community tracks too. In fact, I think maybe it's time that we jumped out of this one. Yeah. So let me stop embarrassing myself. Yeah, for sure.
I think I can even change the room settings myself. So yeah, I think you can do that as well. Yeah, and you're not a mod, I see. Okay, let me check. There's two big names within the track building community, and that's De Honk and Bomba. And the cool thing is that the community is sometimes almost more excited about their creations than our updates. And I mean, that's just cool that there's within our community, there's like a niche community of people creating tracks, and then people who look for these tracks, and then people making video content about these tracks. That's a crazy thing. I love that.
Is there a track you want to try? Were you going to switch us to a different track on the back end somehow, or do I need to do that?
No, I'm changing some settings. I'm going to the green, if that's fine, and I'll take one of the Bomba tracks, if that's fine for you.
Sure, that's fine. Are you making a new room?
No, I'm just updating the settings, and it will.
Nice.
The room
oh, look at that!
Will change. Yeah,
that's it. Somebody's asking, why can't we have more than 6 players in a lobby?
It's a good question. We've looked at multiple, at solutions of getting more people in, and in fact, it used to be limited to 5. So the fact that we can have 6 now is already it's a step in the right direction. The reason why we won't have more is because that would affect the quality that we can offer in multiplayer. So it's very much a quality over quantity type of thing. So
yeah.
It's a bit technical, but the players in a multiplayer room, they're constantly sending location data to each other. And the more people there are, the more data you have to send and receive, and that will affect the smoothness of the gameplay. And we feel that the smoothness of flight is really important. And we're happy that we managed to get the same smooth gameplay in the multiplayer as that we have in single player, which is not as simple as it sounds. So
yeah, there's another question that's sort of come back. People are talking in the chat about the physics, about floaty feeling, and there's a lot of things that affect the way a simulator feels, whether it feels realistic, other than just like have you modeled gravity at 9.8 meters per second, yeah. Right? Can you talk about some of the challenges of getting a simulator to feel accurate? Well, I'm going to give a try at this track. This, by the way, guys, for those who are watching, this is a community track, and I'm gonna just throw out, if you guys are in the room, would I can't keep track of how long you've been in. I don't want to kick somebody who just joined. So if you would just, after 5 minutes or so of play, if you would free your seat for somebody else, we'll see how that works. Go ahead, Kevin.
So there's a lot of aspects, and a big aspect or a big challenge is simply related to the simulation code, of course. But we've learned over time that there's like aspects like performance have a huge impact on the feeling. So if your computer is struggling, and as you mentioned earlier in the stream, that you do need a mid-range gaming setup to play Liftoff with good performance. Well, if you have low performance or low frames per second, then the inputs that you give, that doesn't always translate immediately to the reaction you see on the screen, and that will give you a floaty feeling. It's like there's a small delay. In a way, it would be, I think it will be similar to trying to get like a digital video instead of analog video. It will be a similar effect. That there's a small delay, and that gives a floaty feeling, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people, we talked about this when I visited you at your headquarters. I had the opportunity to actually stopped over on the way back from visiting Fat Shark in China, which I actually thought it was kind of going to be on the way. I was like, sure, we'll just go through Europe on the way back from China, but no, it doesn't work that way. But we talked about how a lot of people who criticize the physics may actually just be playing at too high a graphics setting or at an underspec'd computer. And one of the things you can do, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, you should see a frame per second counter. And I hope to goodness it's hovering right at 60 FPS because I have a fairly decent machine. But if you turn on your FPS counter, and the exact way to do that, I think it's a Steam setting. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, there's a Steam setting. So it's an option you can turn on in your Steam overlay. But I'm afraid I don't know the shortcut exactly.
I don't either.
I do have to say it's not 100% exact, but it does give you a good indication.
Yeah, if you're hovering, if you're below, well, I mean, the more the better in terms of simulation. So 60 FPS is ideal. If you're at around 30 FPS, probably that's acceptable. And if you're below 30 FPS, that's probably affecting. You probably need to turn your graphics down. Even if it feels flyable, you're probably getting some negative effect.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just the performance. I mean, that would be too easy for us to say it's the user's fault. Like,
sure.
Sometimes we're very much open to feedback, and I think these past 3 years we've made a lot of improvements to the physics and the flight behavior. But there's a lot of other aspects as well, like maybe the setup you fly in game does not compare that well to the setup you use in real life, and making that comparison it's not always easy, and a few other aspects as well.
Yeah, I always say that simulators don't fly exactly like your real quad. Hold on, I'm going to kick somebody. You're out. I always say that simulators don't fly exactly like your real quad, but then if you were to take somebody else's quad and fly it, it wouldn't feel exactly like your quad either. And a good simulator will not feel any more different than somebody else's quad. And I think especially with the Physics 3.0 update that you guys did, you made a big improvement. I think Liftoff really jumped. I feel like it's one of the, I'm not just saying that because you're here, I feel like it's one of the most enjoyable to fly. I know that people talk about Velocidrone. For me, Velocidrone out of the box, I just can't even finish a lap. And maybe it's more tweakable and you can get it flying good, but I feel like Liftoff out of the box does a very good job.
I appreciate that, and to be honest, like we also play the competitors like Velocidrone, and I love Freerider on my phone, and even the old Hot Props app, and it's a shame that it's not being updated anymore. And I mean, I think all these sims are really good, and we know what's involved in making these simulations, and we really appreciate what these other guys are doing. It's impressive.
Yeah.
And so
wait a second, we got some. I'm gonna mute the other guys in the room.
Yeah.
We're getting some audio. Clearly, my audio is working. There we go. Yeah, maybe if I'm even picking up your audio now. Wouldn't that be interesting? All right, I'm going to jump back onto your screen, Kevin. You're still playing all this time.
Yeah, I'm trying.
There's a question in the chat about a laptop to play, and just in the interest of
yeah,
like
I'm afraid I'm not really a tech savvy guy, so when it comes to hardware questions, we always refer to Jan here at the studio, and I'm afraid he's not here anymore, or not following the conversation. So I'm not sure if I can help that well with technical questions.
Yeah, the gist of it, though, is you definitely need a solid graphics card. You don't want integrated graphics. So it needs to be kind of a gaming-centric laptop with a built-in NVIDIA card. But even a mid-tiered card like a NVIDIA, 960 or something, or I just pasted a link in the chat to an Alienware Predator. I actually own this one. My son, it's for my son and my family. It's not mine, but and he plays all kinds of games on it. Has an Intel i7 processor and a GTX 1060 card, and that will play Liftoff at least mid settings, maybe even a little higher depending on the frame rate you can tolerate. I pasted a link in there, and yeah, it's an affiliate link, so if you're going to go buy it, it's actually for a $1,000 laptop. The affiliate is actually not bad. So if you're looking for one, that's certainly one I can recommend. Paste it in the chat.
Also, something to keep in mind with laptops especially is that sometimes you have a dedicated graphics card, but somehow for some games, your laptop could switch to the integrated card, and that will result in your laptop not being able to perform, while in theory it should. So that's often just a setting you can Um, uh, yeah, it's something that you can set up. Like, definitely check for that. There's also a few tools that allow you to see what cards are active whatever you do
Yeah.
on your laptop. So
We're watching Sneon right now. Sneon is you can really tell these guys who fly with high up tilt because there's just no coordination in their turns. It's just all roll. You can just see it's almost robotic. Sneon is putting in a great lap. Yeah, so especially if you go to play the game on battery power, a lot of laptops will default to the internal graphics card, the integrated graphics, and it'll be a lot worse. With NVIDIA, at least, there's the NVIDIA app, and the utility, you can set specific apps to always use the built-in graphics card, the real graphics card, so that you
exactly.
get the best performance, and that's definitely what you're going to want to do. One of the common complaints about physics and simulators is that it feels floaty. And I know that we talked about some of the challenges with modeling drag in a simulator. Now, I thought that'd be an interesting conversation to hear from you if you want to talk a little bit about that. Why is drag hard to model and get right?
Well, often it's like people. The default reaction is like the gravity feels wrong, and the irony is that gravity is probably the only thing that we can be 100% sure about that's right. And the biggest contributors to floaty feelings is probably drag behavior, and that's because it's a very complex thing to simulate. It basically involves aerodynamics in a way. Even though these drones don't have wings, there's a lot of aerodynamics involved, and so and the challenge is often that you can't simulate these things 100% in real time on current day technology. So it's always about like figuring out what can we do related to drag simulation, and how can we replicate it as close as possible. And it's a very dynamic thing as well. So things that we take into account is the size of your frame, and potentially if your frame, like for example the Talon, that will have less drag than a bigger and bulkier frame, for example. And then it's also the direction of how you fly, and there's even prop wash that's being calculated, and how your drone reacts within the effects of that your props create. I mean, it's a very complex thing, and we have. Well, you met him, Loic. He's an engineer. He's specialized in, or at least he's really fascinated by flight physics, and he's basically written multiple papers. You could say, like, it's if you look at his desk, it's full of mathematical calculations. It's a crazy thing what he's doing. He's a magician.
Because one of the things that you guys talked about is that the physics of drag when you are falling are a little bit different to simulate than the physics when you are cornering. And it's hard to get both of those right because you have to approximate. If you could actually calculate with a perfect accuracy, then the physics are obviously the same. But since you're doing approximations, it's hard to get cornering and falling right at the same time.
Yeah, and for the longest time, we had two different calculations for that, or two different coefficients that we used for different situations within the flight. But I think, and that's what Physics 3.0 do, is we actually brought it back to one model that works for everything. And I could be wrong because I'm not the physics guy here, but I think that's the biggest thing. We found a model that works in all situations, which is something we didn't expect to find, but it seems to be working.
I hate to interrupt. You mind if I get a spot in the lobby?
What's that?
I hear.
Who is that?
Hyper.
Oh, it's
on Discord.
Oh, hey.
He's on Discord.
Okay, Hyper.
Oh, just filled up instantly.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna make some space so you can jump in, Hyper. Did I just kick you? There you are.
I think I'm in.
Hyper 9 is here. Who else has been going for a while? Bot, you were on the stream for a minute. Mint. I'm gonna mute people as they come in, and that's how I know how long they've been there. Hyper, I can't mute you. I don't know why. Yeah, so let's jump in. And now we're looking at community created content here. This is an amazing track. Somebody laid down all of this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the craziest stuff, the craziest thing about this is that Bomba, who created this, he made multiple of these a week at some point. So
Wow.
it's a crazy amount of work, and it's not just, it doesn't only look good, but it's fun to fly. These tracks are really good.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted, before we end the stream, I want to also check out one of the more sort of, one of those, the blueprint tracks, the really crazy tracks that you showed me. What's the guy's name who makes those? You know the ones I'm talking about?
Well, there's a lot of them, but I think the design you're referring to is Der Honk.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. Here's Hyper, by the way. Everybody on the stream watching Hyper, also very fast pilots. Yes. Yeah, we got to check one of those out.
Shall I change the track then?
Let's give Hyper a chance to show off. Then we'll change the track and we'll go look at one of these crazy tracks.
I remember when we.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I remember when we first implemented multiplayer, the dev team, we expected to be quite decent in flying, and then we showed up in the first multiplayer sessions, and it was quite embarrassing. If you see some of these people fly, it's so many talents.
When you watch speedrunners and they're playing a game, even a simple game like Mario, but they're playing it with, single frame precision, you realize that on a world stage, the quality at the top is so much higher than you ever thought it could be.
Exactly.
And then you just don't. Then you just go home and like, all right, I don't really play online multiplayer games anymore because everyone is so much better than me. It's kind of not fun. And that's why I really appreciate games that make it possible for even sort of people who aren't at the top to contribute, or just good matchmaking, I suppose.
And actually, I have a question related to that for the community, maybe. Something nice
move, Hyper. Go ahead.
Yeah, something that we've noticed is that if you look at our numbers, the majority of Liftoff players, they stay in single player. And what I think is happening is that once you check out multiplayer, can be quite intimidating. So we're looking for suggestions on what we can do to get people interested in joining in without feeling intimidated by some of these top players, which are doing amazing things. But like, what can we do to make it more to make the experience more interesting to new players?
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye in chat, I suppose. Everybody should keep an eye, leave your comments in chat about the answer to that question, what could make it more sort of accessible. Speaking for myself, I know that one of the things I enjoy in a game like this, I'm thinking mostly of like racing games, like Gran Turismo, or I don't know if anybody remembers the game Trials, the motorcycle Trials game. I really loved playing against Ghost Laps, but not of the top players who were just so much better than me I never would get there. But just to say, okay, you're positioned 40,005 in the world. Okay, now play against 40,003 and try and beat him. So I really love having Ghost Laps and a leaderboard that I can work my way up to my own personal best.
That's a feature that we have in the Liftoff Pro League tournaments, and it's definitely something that we want to add to other parts of the game. And I think I've mentioned this before, and it's just taking us a while to get all of these features in the game, but we'll get there eventually.
It's just code. Just write the code.
Yeah.
How hard is it?
Clever coding. Yeah.
We've given Hyper a chance to show off. Hyper, are you in the voice chat still, Hyper?
Yeah, I'm around still.
Yeah. Do you race in real life as well?
I do.
Yeah. Are you this fast in real life? Are you faster in the sim or faster in real life?
Probably in the sim, but I've had a lot more time in sim in real life.
Yeah. The sim, at least you have nothing to lose. You crash and you just like, whatever. But
it's a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
Whatever. Hyper was at Sebring this year. He's badass.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
And if you're on the championship in Vegas, I'll see you there.
Do you find that practicing in the sim helps you in real life?
Extremely. I put almost 600 hours in Liftoff.
Yeah.
Which is really the only sim I play right now. And I noticed, especially on learning lines, I'm a lot better because I played a lot more tracks.
Yeah.
Because there's so much community content.
We're loading. Kevin, are we switching tracks?
Yeah, I thought that was
cool. Yeah, perfect.
Okay?
No, that's great. No, that's great. So, guys, I'm gonna clear the Hyper. I'm gonna leave you in. I'm gonna clear the lobby, and if you were in the lobby, let me request that you not rejoin, so we can give some other people a chance to get in. Viper, 3 floor by Fun, LuGus Studios. You're staying. I'm staying. So we'll get 3 more. If we've got Hyper and we've got 3 more. Thank you guys, and I'm gonna mute you guys. That's gonna be. Here, Kevin, here's a feature request for those of us who are hosting streams. Maybe it'd be nice to know how many people are in the lobby, or to have like locked seats. I can lock a seat, and then, you know, after, I mean, how many people stream? I don't know. How much effort do you want to put into something that will only be useful to like the 5 people a month who stream? I don't know. A lot of people stream Liftoff. I don't know. Anyway, let me join this game.
Well,
there was a question. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a great suggestion. We definitely want to add more tools for hosts and admins and moderators in the game, especially to promote the idea of streaming. And so, yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, something to keep in mind. There's a question in the, by the way, what we're looking at now is a community created level. It's made in the blueprint, and the blueprint just lets people basically just play with blocks. And this is a level made by, the guy's name is Hunk, and he does, just as you can see, just insane levels that could never exist in real life. And we're watching Hyper, because he's probably one of the best pilots in the lobby, try to navigate this. Hyper, have you flown this course before? This is your first time?
This course is brand new to me.
Okay, well, let's watch you struggle through it. Maybe knock your up tilt down a little bit. Kevin, there was a question. There was a question in the. Hang on, I guess somebody's coming through. There we go. There was a question in the chat. Did you guys? Let me get it right. Did you guys write the tools? Did you write the game engine from the ground up, or use an existing engine? I think you said you use Unity, right?
Yeah, we use Unity, so it's an existing game engine. And for those who don't know what a game engine is, it's you could compare it to building a car, and we just do the chassis, the look and feel of the car, but the engine of the motor of the car, that's something that we get. So we build it on top of that, if that makes sense.
The engine lets them. The engine handles the physics, right? You guys use your own. Did you write your own physics, or do you use the in-game engine?
Well, there's a standard physics engine within Unity, but we did a lot of. Well, we added a lot of extra layers to it to do whatever we do with Liftoff. So
yeah, but the engine basically, you can place assets in the environment. You can give the assets certain characteristics. But the engine then handles all of the rendering of light sources and that stuff. So you can focus on the sort of content creation without having to actually write the underlying physics of the world and underlying from scratch.
Yeah, so an engine basically offers what, like, instead of reinventing the wheel each time, you use the same basics, technology, you could say, and then you build your features and your content on top of that. And it's not just the rendering and the physics, it's also a collection of great tools. Like we have a terrain tool, and I mean there's a lot of stuff involved, and it's also like it's constantly growing as well. So we're constantly updating Liftoff, but so is the engine. It's also constantly updating, and Now
we're watching 3 Fly for Fun right now. Hyper, we've gone off you a little bit. And I figure I should probably try, embarrass myself trying to put in a lap on this crazy track. I'll do that in a second. We'll give 3 Fly for Fun a minute to show off. Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, it's the first time I see this. I fly this track, and it's really difficult. Maybe this wasn't the best pick.
That's okay. That's okay. Walter Machado says, please add drone drag racing. Now, that's interesting because my impression of drone drag racing is that it's all about the setup. You know, basically all you do is just pin the stick and go. So I'm not sure how useful it would be in simulator to do that, but okay.
He could actually create a track for this. So
within
the track building tool.
There is actually a community track for drag racing I've seen. There's like a half-mile one and a full-mile one.
But
Just look at workshop.
isn't there just like one optimum setup that gets you the fastest? I mean, how much skill is there in drag?
Depending if it's just drag racing in a straight line, there's slight things to do with the takeoff. I'm not sure how much it's going to matter in the end.
Yeah.
But if there's turns, like a half mile down, half mile back, there's actually a lot of thought that goes into that turn at the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mr. Tux asks, Kevin, please make the bass sound at the start of the race quieter and less bassy. That sound is literally the worst thing in the game. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's on our change list, and somehow we always forget to do it. But I agree with that.
Now there's a question, because I think a lot of people will be surprised to learn that underlying the physics and the simulation is a PID controller. And I was surprised to learn that, because I thought, well, why do you need a PID controller if you're simulating the movement of the quad? Just make it, the whole point of a PID controller is to make a physical system match the control inputs. But if there's no physical system, you don't need a PID controller. Just make the quad do what it's being told to do. So why is there a simulated PID controller in here? Does that question make sense?
Well, yeah, it does impact the way you control the thing, and it was also just something that the community wanted, I guess, to practice in and to get a similar feel. So
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure how to answer that question, but it is correct to say that it has less of an impact in a sim than in real life, because there's not a lot of outside forces interacting with your frame. So it could be, you could ignore it. Like, yeah.
I'm trying the course here. No, we got 4. We got 4 here. Okay. Is it either or? Now I gotta drop in here. Okay, I got it. No, I'm still up. I'm gonna complete 1 lap. That's gonna be my goal. I dropped down to like 35 degrees. By the way.
Only Hyper has managed to finish a lap.
Oh my gosh. That's a good idea, Alep. Change map every 5 minutes and kick everyone each switch. That's a really good idea. We'll probably try that. Yeah, well, Hyper has finished a lap and did not look embarrassing doing it. Let's see. That's going to be my goal, is just to finish a map. Like, it's so tough. I feel like I'm a decent pilot, but then I get in the simulator and I just feel like I struggle so much. Where's the... No. Okay. JB just freestyle. Should I just freestyle? Okay, let's do that. Let's do some freestyle. Yeah, see, the thing with freestyle is that there's basically no way to get it wrong, as long as you don't crash. And you have so many options to bail out of things that aren't going right, except when you, like, try and hit a gap, maybe. Like that. And we're indoors. The contrast is a little bit poor. It's a little hard to see where I'm going inside. Yay!
So here's another question for the community. We often, every time we add a frame to Liftoff, we see people request, like, can you next time maybe add a race frame or add a freestyle frame? And we think we have a variation in that, but we're never completely sure what that means for people. So
race versus freestyle frame.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I see that a lot of frames are being promoted as a freestyle frame or as a race frame, and it involves like some are specifically designed for speed and such. But like in general, yeah, we're always surprised. Sometimes we think, well, this is a freestyle frame, and then people say, well, we need more freestyle frames. So that's something I sometimes wonder about. Like, what makes the difference between that? If that makes sense as a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I could answer from my point of view. It would be the difference between the weights, really. There is like the Stretch X frames that have the ability to, like the Talon is a Stretch X, so it's really great for turns. But the only difference for me with a freestyle versus a racer frame is the weight.
Yeah.
So the
freestyle frame is going to be, I feel like, in like 600 gram-ish range. 550 to 650 is a typical weight for freestyle, with battery and GoPro. Whereas for racing, some of them are as little as 400 in, all up. Maybe even a little less.
So the Talon, would you say that's a freestyle or a race?
That's very much a race frame, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although it's not ultralight, the Carreria Talon is designed as a race frame. It's not ultralight. Certainly, whether it's designed to carry a GoPro, if it's not designed to carry a GoPro, it's clearly not a freestyle frame.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think that the problem is kind of unsolvable. Because when people say they want a race frame or a freestyle frame, they really just want the frame that they fly in real life. And it's kind of hard to get every single frame that's ever been designed.
Yeah. Kevin, let's switch tracks. Let's do the pit. And I think the idea of switching tracks every few minutes and clearing the room is a good idea.
Let's see if I have a track for the pit. Will you change it or will I change it?
I can. You go for it if you want to change it. Can I change
I have
that?
a pretty cool Durhawk track for the pit if you guys want to run that.
What do you got?
One of the pit party tracks.
Let Hyper host because he's got some sweet tracks.
I got all the tracks from the past 3 years.
Can we, let's see, Hyper is the new host? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's so good having a dev in the room. All right, I'm just going to kick the 3 seats that we've got. Viper, why can't I kick you, Viper? Oh, because Hyper is now the host. Hyper, you're going to have to clear the room, please. A couple more rooms for people to jump in. Tyler, you've been in several times. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and drop out. I'm not sure how you keep getting in, to be honest. There may not be as many people wanting to get in as I think. If we have an empty seat for a while, then maybe. But, yeah. Thank you, Tyler. Sorry. Let's see what we got here.
What I can do is once that Hyper has changed the track, I can make you host again, and I can switch constantly if you want.
Oh, nice. Rian Pieterse, sorry, Rian, asks, can we see top pilots per track times, rates, PIDs, and quad settings? Now, that's interesting. Not just the ability to have a leaderboard, but also the ability to see what the setup was. Because I know some of these guys who get the ultra-fast times kind of guard their setups. They find these crazy fast setups just through trial and error.
This is a huge topic for a lot of the top line of guys that are racing for Liftoff, especially for the times. Because there are setups that are pretty reasonable. Like the setup I'm flying right now, if you click on my name when it loads, you'll see I'm not. This is my standard setup. It's top speed of 101 miles an hour. I feel that's very realistic on a race course.
Absolutely.
To get up to 100 miles an hour. So that's the setup I fly. I also have a setup that I don't like to use, but I will sometimes, that does 137 miles an hour in a straight, which I think is a little bit unreasonable.
I mean, there are quads that go that fast, but a typical race quad will not go that fast.
Not for that long.
My first time through a course, I'm always just trying to figure out where the line is, although the line is marked, so it would be nice.
But
I have a lot of Go ahead.
Yeah, that was actually a really good suggestion. Like we do show the drone setup that someone competed with in the tournaments, I think. But it's definitely something that we could and maybe should do in the regular leaderboard. So yeah, definitely.
I'm always, especially in a simulator, I'm not sure. In the real world, you try to race and you want to find the best setup, and that's sort of part of the competition. But in the simulator, it's like, well, I'm just there's certain simulated parts. It's not like I have all the parts in the real world to try and choose from. And I'm actually more of a fan of like spec racing in the simulator than I am in real life. I like spec racing.
That's probably something that we're going to add soon, because it's one of the more requested features right now is spec racing in Liftoff, so that the room host can actually pick a setup that everyone has to fly with. So that would be a good feature, I think.
Maybe we should try one of the tournaments. You've got a tournament running right now, don't you?
Just a quick question for me.
Yeah.
Just since I'm here, what do you think about spec tourneys, LuGus? It's the spec tournaments where everyone has to run the same setup. So it kind of takes that side of that tournament out of area just based on setup. So it's kind of evens the whole playing field.
We've done a few like these in the past, and the next one will probably also be a spec race. So Yeah. So I'm not going to say what it will be exactly about, but it's going to be a spec tournament. Yeah.
This track is the verticality on this track is really challenging. Having to sort of follow the lines of the ground is really. I'm having a real problem with this one gate right here that you have to drop into. Like if it were a car, I'd have no problem. What the F? I cannot hit this gate. Get in there. Get in there. Go in the gate. No.
You see, that's the problem with Hyper picking a track. He's just too good for us.
Let's watch Hyper do it. Yeah, I swear these guys are so good. Oh, let's see. What do we got in the chat? I'm keeping an eye on the chat here. What's the best type of computer to play drone sims on? One with a quad-core processor. I get it, quad-core. Nice. Fpv Angle Mix. Should we use it or learn to do it manually? I do it manually. Fpv Angle Mix, for those of you who don't know, is a way of automatically coordinating turns to compensate for your camera up tilt. Jesus. Wow. All right. I don't feel so bad anymore. This is insane. No, this, of course, is not for humans. And if you have FPV Angle Mix set up, then when you want to turn, you just push the roll stick. You don't need to add yaw. But the problem is that you're always needing to add yaw for various things. So I'm going to jump back to my camera and just freestyle for a second. If you look at my sticks down at the bottom of the screen, let's just go to a lot of up tilt. You can see that if I want to turn the quad, I need to add both roll and yaw to create sort of a coordinated turn. And if you have FPV Angle Mix, you wouldn't see that. You'd see the yaw stick was centered. But the problem is that, like, for example, if I want to do a roll, I might counter coordinate to make the roll smooth, right? And with FPV Angle Mix, it just changes where you are in that equation. So you're always going to be adding yaw to do some moves. Like, I find that the more, as I get better and better and more confident with the quad, I'm often adding yaw, like in like a split S. I'll add a little bit of yaw here to kind of change the line. And I found that having FPV Angle Mix, if all you ever did was fly in a straight line and turn left and right, then FPV Angle Mix would be useful. But as soon as you start doing, you know, inverted moves, like watch the left stick during some of these moves. I'm going to exaggerate, but to keep this centered, I'm adding yaw, counter yaw. And FPV Angle Mix would mean that you'd have to add more of that. So I don't use it because I'd rather just learn to fly around the quad. And I don't find it that hard to learn to coordinate up tilt. You just make I like to think of it like you make the horizon do what you want it to do. So if I add a little more yaw, the horizon will turn the other direction. If I add a little, you know, just to keep it. Anyway, that's my opinion. What do we got here? Yeah, no, everyone else has crashed out of this track. All right. Hyper's got a 21-second lap. This is insane. I mean, this is representative of what you'll see in some nationals or worlds level tournaments. You will see tracks this difficult in real life, but you won't see pilots like me completing them. What do you think? Let's pick another one. Let's maybe we could take a look at the tournament, because maybe some of the people who are trying Liftoff for the first time, Kevin, I'm going to drop out of this room. You guys, I guess, can keep playing.
But one note, the current tournament is likely one of the hardest we've had so far. So we've had 3 Halloween tournaments, and they have increased in difficulty, and it's the last one right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna maybe we should watch Hyper try it. No, but the Liftoff Pro League is you can sign up and you can compete in these tournaments, and they have a limited amount of time. And I actually didn't realize this when I first. You can practice the tournament as much as you want, but then when you say join tournament, sometimes you have limited runs. Let's see. How's this one set up?
Yeah, there's different rules. So I think the one that's active now only gives you 10 tryouts, and they don't replenish. But then the majority of tournaments, they have tryouts that replenish, and that's different with each tournament. So it could be like every 24 hours you get 3 new tryouts, and it's to in the beginning it used to be just a fixed amount, and what we noticed is that people waited until the last day to place a time, and so by having the replenishment system, then there's constantly people putting new times on the leaderboard, and that's a bit more exciting.
I got you. Hello, Steven Means. Are you saying hi to me? Hello. So we've got practice, can I practice as much as I want?
Yeah.
I see.
Definitely.
That's what I didn't realize the first time I tried a tournament. I was like, okay, well, I guess you get 10 shots.
Something you should try is if you go to the times on the leaderboard, you can select a few of these, up to 4, I think, and then they will fly as ghosts within your game. So
that's awesome.
If you put a time and you say you have like a 30-second time, then you can pick the ones just above or underneath you. So it's
well, let's what's this, a 5-minute time? Is that right? 5:49. I hope I can. Let's try a practice. Now I see that this is a hunk map, so probably it's going to be insane. But let's and this is not a racing quad. Let me see if I can find a better quad. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, I assure you. Oh. I also like the Hanover map a lot. It's a fun map to fly freestyle in. Okay, hang on, what's my up tilt? Oh no, see. I keep starting with the same, I keep resetting my up tilt, but it keeps not remembering. I wonder why that is. I was playing around with like 110 degrees of up tilt before. Just for fun with Kevin on a live stream. Okay, here we go. Go here. Okay, no problem. That's easy. Oh, this is no problem.
Give me a second. Yeah.
Okay, now up here. Okay, got it. Okay. Piece of cake. Now where? Where is the next one? Oh, okay, go down here. No problem. Where is it? Where's the... Hello? I can't find the... Okay, I don't even know where the next one is. Let's angle down a little more. Okay, 2. 5-minute lap time. How long is this course? Do I have to go outside the map and... Where's the next... I can't find the next waypoint. Oh, is it down in this hole? Ah, it's probably down in this hole. Okay. Here it goes. Hello. Okay, we'll go this way. Oh, no. 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 Can I get a waypoint? Can I maybe get some waypoints on this map? Hello, Gorilla Drone. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna need some waypoints. I'm gonna go up here, and I see. I gotta dump down, and I missed it. Oh, damn. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna need the 5-minute replay. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go up here. This is no problem. This is easy. No! Oh, I missed it! Oh. Who in the chat feels like they can hit this?
Which map is it all hosted in multiplayer?
It's one of the hunk maps. That's a good idea. Let me back out of the tournament. So that's tournaments. You can work your way up. Are there any prizes or anything, Kevin, for the tournaments?
Yeah, there's always a few prizes. Let me check which. I think like the top 3 winners, they have a chance of getting a champion badge, and that's a golden badge that we send to the winners. And then there's also an in-game prize. So everyone that participates in the tournament, they will get an exclusive, an event exclusive skin for the Talon.
Nice.
And let me check what other prize. No, that's a prize for this one. So for each tournament, we can have different prizes. Sometimes, well, most of the time it's virtual prizes. Sometimes it's also real prizes. Could be a frame or a remote or yeah.
That's really cool. Let's see here. What's the best 220 size frames? Asks Dennis Van Riesen. Dennis, I have to say the frames that I am promoting right now are the sort of open source clone killer frames. They're not all open source, but the sort of clone killer frames, which are cheap frames by first party manufacturers, and they're good frames. I'm not just promoting them because I support the people who make them, but if you want to support people like Armatan, TBS, Rotor Riot, the frames I suggest you look at are the TBS Source One, the Source One, by the way, like open source TBS, the Armatan Sabotage line, sabotage like we're going to sabotage the clones, and the Rotor Riot CL1. Those are all on my website. Thank you, Dennis. Those are all on my website, fpvknowitall.com, Ultimate FPV Shopping List, where I list all the parts that I suggest. Pixel Connect says, tried Liftoff first, runs surprisingly choppy on my Xeons. Hanover, totally unflyable. DRL runs like a charm. I don't know what the deal might be with that, Pixel comment. I know, Kevin, I know you're not the technical guy. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, maybe try some graphic settings. Turn off some of the visual effects, or turn on some of the shadows, maybe, or even the resolution.
I mean, having a Xeon processor, it's really the graphics that's going to affect more than the processor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know the exact specs, like, except for that, but it's yeah. I'm afraid I can't.
Yeah,
I can't say exactly what's going on there.
Hyper, you've got a lobby up. The track was Graveyard Hard, Honk Graveyard Hard. If you want to host that one, it's an insane track that welcome to the live stream, people. We're going to make you fly the hardest track possible, but we're going to jump in and we're going to see what that track might look like.
There's also an easy version, so an easy, a medium, and a hard version. Maybe try the easy first.
Sure, we'll give it a go. Let's do the easy, shall we? Yeah. Let's see. Source One is sold out in Europe. I just realized how hard your name is. Dennis Van Riesen. Reason? How'd I do, Dennis? I don't really. I take a stab at European pronunciations. Yoza Yogi, if you Liftoff is free for the weekend, but after the weekend, if you want to keep playing it, you would have to buy it. But for the weekend, it's free. Stonewolf FPV, isn't there an iFlight frame that's awesome and cheaper? Oh yeah, all of them. I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, the frames I just listed off are between $25 and $40, which to me is, it doesn't get a lot cheaper than $25, not without giving up a lot in terms of quality. So let's see here. What have we got as the map? Let me jump in here. Yeah, see, Kevin, look, it keeps coming in at my old stupid 140 degree angle. Maybe it's because I haven't played a single player map. Here we go. This is, oh no, this is the, I actually love this track. This is the Multi-GP Nationals track, I believe.
Yeah,
I love this track.
I got so many hours into this track.
I should really turn my rates down. These are freestyle rates on the quad right now, I believe. Can I do that right now? Flight controller settings. Oh no, my rates are at 400. My bad. I got no excuse. I got no excuse for being bad then. What rates do you run, Hyper?
I've been told they're very low. I don't think did I change anything there.
200, 300?
360 degrees with 0.35 expo.
Yeah. Yeah, I got iFlight is great. iFlight is great. I don't have anything against iFlight. I'm just saying, it's not like they're. Wow, I just got bonked. Somebody hit me on the start gate. We got Kevin. We got collisions. Is there collision physics between the drones?
No, not in multiplayer.
I'm not sure we really want that. What's going on here? Okay. Get that. Why is this piece? Why is this just over in the middle of the sky, huh? What am I doing here? There we go. I don't really know this course. Okay, now I'm gonna go. Am I going the right way or the wrong way? Hyper took the lead. Shocker. Where's it? What, now I have to go over here again? What is going on here? Okay. Alright. Oh, I see. It's like a spiral, isn't it? I got you. Hey, hey. What? Really? Am I going over here again? Why is this particular point in the sky so interesting? Damn it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're gonna go this way. I should watch somebody else. This is the first thing you should always do, and when you're learning a course, is just watch somebody else fly it. Of course, watching Hyper fly it will give me the wrong impression of how fast I should be. I really like when simulators put real-world tracks in the sim, especially when the real-world track, like when the MultiGP regionals came out and they released the track, a lot of people just emulated that in the sim and were able to practice. And I think that even if the exact physics are not identical, just knowing the layout of the gates and the turns, so you don't have to hesitate. Because when you show up at a race and they're like, okay, practice heat 1, get ready to go. You know, you don't want to waste that time in the real world just learning the layout. I think people who practice in the sim have a big advantage in their familiarity with the course. Yeah, I don't think there's any real debate about that.
I couldn't agree with you more on that point, because that's what I did for this race in real life, and it worked out very well.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not trying to be that guy, but I probably have more time on this course just than anyone in sim and in real life. Just with the amount of time that I've spent,
crazy,
like just standing out there.
Especially complicated courses like this, like a lot of these bigger events will have fairly complicated courses, lots of crossovers, you know, and it's easy to get lost and just miss a gate. And every minute you're only going to get so many practice heats. So the more prepared you are on day one, the better. There's no doubt about that.
And the cool thing is that all of this is done by the community. Like we've had organizations contact us and ask us, like, "Hey, we have this design for our tournament or league. Can you put that in Liftoff?" And then we've had moments where we say, like, "Okay, give us a second. We'll search on the workshop, and it's already there." And so that's really cool.
Yeah, for tracks like this that are essentially designed to be laid out on a flat field, there's no like modeling necessary to make it look good. You can get the effect of practicing the track with simple, you know, modular parts like the gates and stuff. It's really good. Yeah. Let's see here. Do you know anybody who flies throttle on a momentary switch? I mean, we did that for an episode of Rotor Riot, but nobody does it full time. That's for sure. I'm sure that nobody does it full time. I mean, that's just silly. Does anyone know how to use flight controller for simulator? Asks Dizzy Robert. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, yeah, I do know what you mean. You mean using the flight controller as your simulator adapter. Dizzy Robert, look down in the description of this video, down below the video, and I have a link to my video about how to use the Betaflight flight controller as a simulator adapter. So no problem there. Let's see. Just keeping up with the chats. It's the regional qualifier. Yeah, it's really interesting to me how the tracks have changed lately. I mean, if you look at older tracks, they had a lot. Well, first of all, they were simply a lot less challenging. The skill level of pilots has gone way up, and the capability of the equipment has gone way up. But also just the designers have really grown into that with things like a lot of verticality, dive gates and stuff. Things that you just could not get 2 years ago, for example. Really
and I do
impressive.
have more recent IO tracks, like the spec track from IO, that crazy up tilt and then the dive, if you want to do that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, let's see. Yes, My House, Nordic Blue, My House has been released. We were playing it a little bit earlier. Let's do one more. Let's do one more racetrack, and then let's try the. Do you have one of like the regional qualifiers? Maybe a slightly easier track.
This one here is the regional final from this year.
Yeah.
I also have last year's regional final and the qualifier from this year. If you want to run that.
I actually flew in the qualifier from this year. That's the one with like.
How'd you do? You're southeast, I think.
I did not. I mean, come on. I didn't. I didn't go to nationals. No, I mean, I did it just because it was fun. I didn't really expect to be competitive. Part of the mistakes that I made is I showed up with a quad that I had not practiced on. I just grabbed a quad and was like, okay, I'll fly this. So I had practiced it in the simulator. I did know the layout. Pardon me, but I did not. I didn't really even run all my heats because nope. Nice try. I didn't even really run all my heats because I was so busy. I crashed and didn't have props and, was just completely unprepared. But it was fun. It was fun.
Sometimes it's just like that.
Is there a plan, Kevin? Is there a plan to get an option to set a custom ground texture on the drawing board tracks?
Not currently.
No, the drawing board is a little bit. It's not exactly a full 3D environment that you can modify arbitrarily.
I understand the question, and it's, I mean, the question is how much blue is too much blue. But there's specific reasons for why we don't do these textures, and reasons are both technical and cosmetical, and I mean so it's not something that we have planned for the near future, but we never say never to any features. I mean, we plan to support Liftoff as long as the community supports us, and there's so many things that we still want to do, and so anything is possible.
Stonewolf FPV asks, are the squares in the drawing board 1 meter, 1 yard? How do you build a track to scale
it's something that you can, it's actually an option for the player, so you can have metric or imperial. So depending on what you choose, those squares will be different in size.
So those squares are either 1 meter or 1 yard, depending on whether
1
you're
meter
metric or imperial. And you just use those to do the layout.
Yeah. And there's a basic cube that's like 1 on 1 meter and such, yeah.
Let's see if this is the course I remember. Yeah, this is the one. I actually flew this in real life. Let's see.
I think the reason why your camera angle is like that is probably because you've set it up like that in the workbench and then saved it.
Oh,
could that be?
I bet you're right. I bet I did that by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hang on. I have to concentrate here. Somebody said in the chat, for the free weekend they could have given us Bardwell's Yard. I think there's some confusion. Bardwell's Yard is released. You can have it right now. It's all there. Just start Liftoff and select Bardwell's Yard and am I back through the gate? Oh no, it's over the top. It's over the top and then back through. Yeah. I was much faster than this in real life. Let's see. How does Liftoff? Jazzy J asks, how does Liftoff handle their physics compared to Velocidrone? I think that's going to be a difficult question for Kevin to answer because, Kevin, I'm going to guess that the Velocidrone devs haven't, just told you all about how they do what they do. So I'm not sure that you really can answer that, can you?
Well, we do talk sometimes.
What?
So
preposterous.
Yeah, we're. It's not. It's our competitor, so we fight all the time. No, we do talk, and of course, none of us go into too much details. But I think that in the end, what we do and the systems that are going on behind the scenes are not that different. It's always about the small details, the 1% that makes the difference in feeling, and so the basic systems are probably the same. But again, you're correct. It's not a question that I can answer because I'm biased. But
yeah. It's funny to me how. Oh, look, I'm about to finish a lap. 47 seconds. It's always funny to me how people can have different. I can't talk and fly. How people can have different opinions about which simulator is the best. And I fly some simulators, and I struggle. Like I'm going to sound like I'm calling out Velocidrone here. I'm going to get an email from the Velocidrone devs saying, hey, try this, try that. The times that I've flown Velocidrone on the default settings, I've really struggled to fly precisely. And even as you see me struggling now, because I'm just not as familiar with how this quad flies at this moment, I'm still basically able to hit my lines. And other people say, oh no, Velocidrone, clearly the best. And I'm like, what are you... Or they'll say, DRL, clearly the best. I'm like, I don't know. Everybody's just having this different experience.
I think a big factor is also performance. I think on lower end systems that Velocidrone will give a better result for sure.
Interesting.
So that's also
less demanding graphically.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. So and that's something. I mean, that's a choice that we made. So we're pushing the requirements a bit more than most of the other sims, and that's a choice that we make. And we understand that. As a result of that, we lose a bit of our audience, but yeah, I suspect that's also a big part of it.
One of the sorry, I'm trying to fly and talk. Are there any thoughts to ways to maybe release a light version of it that is more accessible?
Yeah,
like you have development resources for that. I don't know.
Well, we have many code names at the studio for IDs that we have for spin-offs for Liftoff, and Liftoff Light is very much a concept that we've been thinking about and consider like how can we make that happen. And the ID for Liftoff Light would be like, what can we do, or is it possible to bring the Liftoff experience to something that runs on for low-end systems, but also on mobile potentially.
Yeah.
And then
right now, Freerider I think is the big one for mobile.
Yeah, but actually, and I don't think a lot of people know that, but Hot Props has a really cool mobile version as well. And I enjoy both on mobile. And of course, there's for those who have followed the news from Chad Kapper, there's Chad announced a really cool game controller for mobile platforms, the Rotary controller. And we're talking with Chad about making something. Nothing is completely set in stone yet, but we have a few ideas and we're exploring a few things. And I think I can share that information because I think he even talked about. Yeah. He announced that he was talking to us about this. So we're looking into things.
Yeah, this brings up the distinction between a game and a simulator. When people saw the Rotor Riot game controller, there was a question that a lot of people asked was, why would I buy this instead of a QX7 or an X-Lite to use with my simulator? And the answer to that question is you wouldn't. If you are an RC pilot who's already into FPV, you absolutely, that's not for you. It's for a person who isn't into RC, who maybe has never even heard of FPV, but they see this game controller in a Best Buy or an Apple store, and they get sort of drawn in. The analogy that I like to make, and I probably didn't come up with this myself, but is of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which kind of gets you into the culture of the sport without necessarily requiring you to compete or participate in the sport, which has big advantages when it comes to improving the perception of the sport in the culture as a whole, but seeing something like the Rotor Riot game controller on a mobile game, a mobile Liftoff game, for example, that provides accessibility into the sport in a way that, like, there's such a huge learning curve and hurdle in terms of money, in terms of time. I remember when I first was getting into RC, I knew I liked to fly because I used to fly an RC plane when I was much younger. I knew I would like it, and I still struggled to convince myself that $200 for a transmitter and, all of the money was actually going to be worth it to me. I just didn't know if I was going to want to commit to the hobby. And, something like that game controller could give someone a taste of what it's like to fly FPV and to kind of get hooked. The same way that somebody might play, Forza on the Xbox or Gran Turismo, and then kind of maybe realize that they love car racing and maybe get, some kind of a track car or something in real life.
And it's I think it's a really cool initiative, and I hope the FPV community will understand what it's about and will support it as such. It's if we end up making something for this, it's probably not going to be a simulator. It's going to be a game, because one of the things about one thing that we've tried with Liftoff, for example, is we've always wanted to speak to both the drone racing community or the freestyle community and gamers, and that's really hard because a simulator can be really intimidating, and that's not something that we want to do. We want to lure people in and help grow the FPV community, because that's something we all benefit from.
Absolutely.
And so especially if you have a controller that works for mobile, and it doesn't have the stick, the same stick controls as a radio, then it might not be the best choice to go for like a pure simulator experience. And so we're exploring a few things. Again, nothing set in stone, but we're excited about the opportunity of working on this. And it's
the distinction between a game and a simulator is especially, I think, maybe poignant for you, because I think when Liftoff first started, you didn't intend it as a simulator, if I remember the story right. Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually, we're game developers, and I don't think there's even a distinction. As Liftoff is both a game and a simulator. It's a simulator is just a genre of game. I feel. Of course, that's all about semantics and such. But as game developers, we always look like, well, can we make fun experiences? How can we make something that a community wants to play? And in this case, the community wants a sim, so that's what we went for. But that's not in general, as a game developer, that's not something that people ask for. So originally we just wanted to, well, we're fans of racing games like Wipeout, and we looked at drones, and that's cool, and we wanted to translate the excitement and the whole culture and excitement of drone racing to a game. The community said, like, we want a sim, and eventually we started aligning or have the same ideas and explore that, and 3 years later we have a really detailed, complex simulation, and we're happy for it. I mean, the community is happy, and so we are happy as well.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, you want to provide an experience. Wow, that was a great turn, Hyper. That you want to provide an experience that the people want to play. And with games, oftentimes accuracy is not what you want. When I play Hitman, I don't want an actual simulation of it's, the stealth game is, there are certain mechanics that are fun to interact with, but it's not an actual simulation of what it's like to sneak through a building and kill someone. But when you find that and oftentimes if you look at car racing games, some are more arcade style, some are more like you look at Burnout, right? Versus something like Forza, which is a more direct simulation. And it's just about what the audience wants. And I guess it turned out that your audience wanted a more accurate simulator than a sort of a straight game.
Yeah, and the audience is always right. And especially in this case, I think it would be a missed opportunity not to create a authentic or a realistic sim, because it's FPV is something special. It's so close to gaming that it would have been a lost opportunity not to go for this. Excuse me for this. Someone actually turning off the lights in the building, not knowing I'm still here. So give me a second. I'll be back in a minute.
No problem. Do we need to? How's the room doing? Do we need to clear the room again? Are people getting a chance to come in? I've been so busy talking to Kevin.
It seems like there's been a little bit of rotation.
Good.
You can go a little bit clumsy if you want to.
Gamer's Life says, I just bought a cable to connect my FlySky to my PC, received it today, but won't connect to Liftoff or DRL, but it works with FreeRider. I'm not sure The FlySky i6, that you're probably using the Buddy Box cable. I don't think, does the FlySky i6 have USB, or are you just using a USB cable? You say you bought a cable, Gamer's Life, so I'm going to guess that that is some kind of, I would suggest if you don't just have a USB cable that you plug in, that you go ahead and use the method linked down in the video description to use your flight controller and your receiver as your USB interface. That's the simplest thing to do, and as long as you have Betaflight 3.4 or better, you can do that. Yep. Hyper, you're turning that slalom into a straight line. It's crazy.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. You are barely, yeah. Do you race? You don't race that aggressively in real life, though. I mean, you're giving yourself no margin for error.
I would love to be able to do this in real life. It would be very expensive.
And unlike here, you don't get infinite retries in a real race.
No.
No. Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah. Kevin, the other question I was thinking of asking you is, have you ever thought about making, like a game? Like, you ended up making the Liftoff simulator, but somewhere in the back of your mind, is there a game that you wish you could make about drones that doesn't have to have totally realistic physics and maybe has like a story or something like that?
We have so many ideas. We have concepts like Liftoff Arcade, Liftoff Frontier, Liftoff Academy. I mean, these are all code names for ideas that we have, and we hope that our goal is to turn Liftoff not into just one game, but a brand of games. And I hope that in 10 years we are still working on Liftoff themed or drone themed games, and some of them could be pure simulators, others could be more game, could provide a more game experience. And so yeah, we have thought about that.
Yeah, you've got a project you're working on. I think I've seen some stuff about it on the internet about the industrial training. Liftoff simulator. Want to talk about that for
Academy.
A second?
Yeah. So it's still in very early pre-production stage. So we're prototyping a few things. We're making some concepts, and we're talking to a lot of people. In fact, we're actually looking for an investor for this because it's a big project, as big as Liftoff is right now, maybe even bigger. And that would be a drone simulator game that's not focused on racing or freestyle, but more on anything that companies like DJI do, like camera platforms or drones that can be used for security reasons or for in agriculture or search and rescue, any of those type of things. And we envision it as being a sandbox experience. So you get a set of tools in the game. You can create your own scenarios, then maybe share them. And that's based on a lot of questions that we've got over the years from companies who say like, okay, we're a security company. We're using drones. My pilots don't have a lot of tools to practice. Can we use Liftoff to practice? And we always said, yeah, in theory you could, but then we would have to make some changes that are more specific to the drone flying experience that you would have in real life. And so it's and so it's a bit of an answer to those questions that we've gotten.
Yeah, because in that case, you're going to need to, if you're training to fly, say, a DJI drone to inspect power lines, you're going to need to simulate the DJI interface. You're going to want the real. It's not enough to just give them a Tyrannus. So
we're going to do a similar thing as we did with Liftoff. It's going to be an iterative thing where we make a very basic version of the game and slowly expand it based on feedback and requests from both the community and from potentially these companies and organizations. And so we very much believe, we truly believe in the power of these early access programs where what you eventually end up with is not just a project that you envision, but it's a combination of your vision and that of your consumers, and that's the best approach, I feel.
That's a really interesting insight. I only have looked at early access from the perspective of a customer, and to me, you see early access and you think that the dev has this fully fleshed out vision for the game, and early access is just a way for them to get you to pay for it before they're finished. And at some level, I mean, sometimes it goes well, but sometimes it feels like, it's like, why don't you make the game and then I'll buy it? But thinking of it as a collaborative interchange between the dev and the audience to make a different game than they maybe originally planned. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's the original idea of early access, but unfortunately a lot of developers abuse that idea and that concept, and they do exactly what you just described. It's a way to sell their software before it's finished, and in a way we did the same with Liftoff, but we wanted to be an example of how early access should be, and I'm really proud of my team being able to release so many updates and about the fact that we actually got feedback from a community and were able to implement many of these ideas. And of course, not every suggestion and idea that we get we've been able to implement, and it's not because we don't appreciate these ideas, but sometimes it's a matter of prioritizing what's important at a certain moment. And there's so many things. It's an ever-growing list.
Yeah, I just want to say I've been an active member of Liftoff since 2015 December, and just watched it grow, kind of just as a whole.
Yeah, and it's we're not the designers of Liftoff. It's the community. The community are the designers. We just picked. We decided what direction. But at the end of the day, it's always based on the overall story that the community is telling us, and that's not always easy because the feedback and suggestions we get, it's not always consistent, and not everyone wants the same thing. Like if we release a new frame in the game, then people say, "But why did you waste your time on this? I want a new level." And then when we make a new level, people say, "But you should have made frames." Just to give you an example, and that's normal, so it's always. It's not easy to make everyone happy at the same time, but we try our best to, with every update, to have a variety of things. Could be a few tweaks to the physics, could be a track, or could be a frame, and we try to have a variation of things. Yeah.
I'm trying to set a... It takes me so long to get used to the up tilt on the quad and how the quad feels.
It just flows.
Just constantly. Oh, look, 45 seconds. I did a lap. Oh my goodness. So guys, you guys in the chat, thank you Elmer's FPV for the €5. €5, not $5. We got some feedback here. Hey Hyper, can you mute everybody except me? Oh wait, it doesn't matter if you mute me.
I got you.
I'm streaming. Thank you, Elmer's FP, for the €5 super chat. If you guys are in the chat, you may not realize that this is an open room, and we're trying to kick people out fairly regularly, and make sure that you guys can jump in. So if you keep an eye for when the room, see a seat just opened up, and if you want to try and jump in, you definitely are welcome to participate. Come fly in the room with us. Yeah. So they should make... Jazzy J says you should make a paparazzi mode where you fly over celebrities' houses in LA and get spy shots where they're out of the pool. No.
But would that idea include weapons like rocket launchers?
I can see... Here's the thing. I'm already thinking of how that game would work, because you could use actual, like, 3D maps of... we got a new room. Hyper's setting up a new room. Thanks for running the room for me, Hyper.
But
you could
there's a secret paparazzi game mode in Liftoff. It's like stalk Joshua Bardwell. Mm-hmm. He's watching through his window, and it's funny when you go to the Steam Workshop and you look at the screenshots section from the community. Like,
it's all that window.
The last few months there's like, I think, hundreds of pictures from you watching, looking through the window. It's funny. It's a paparazzi thing, right?
Yeah.
That was actually our our art developer Heel who added that in the texture as a joke, and we decided to keep it in.
People love it. Gamers
Yeah,
Life,
yeah.
yes, I am reading chat. I am reading chat. I'm not reading chat, you know, every minute of the day, but I am reading chat. I see your chat. Was there something you wanted to ask me? Because that was it. That was your chance.
I see a question about the Bando level.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's one of the most requested environments, and yeah, we're working on one. In fact, we've been working on one for the longest time, but it has always been delayed as a result of some other priorities. But we're definitely going to add a Bando level, and we don't want to do just any regular like Bando thing. We want to make it special, so hopefully we will succeed. We have some really cool ideas on how we can make that ultra cool. Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
I know Drew was saying when people see that you modeled my phooey. When people see that you modeled my place, they say, "Oh, I want to. Oh, that sounds fun. I wanted to model my place." I don't think people realize how much work it was. How long did it take you to create my level?
It was 4 months of work, and that was quite fast actually. Yeah, I think that was 4 months. Yeah.
What about for something like the Hanover level, which people may not realize is actually a model of the CeBIT Convention Center in Hanover? It's a real environment.
That was a month extra, and you would think that's even more than that because it's a lot bigger. But we didn't put as much details into it as your place, and we use a lot more generic assets as well. But yeah, I think that was 5 months or something like that, and we had to rush it. In fact, we wanted to get it done for CeBIT, which is a tech fair at Hanover.
That's right. CeBIT is the event. It's not actually the name of the hall.
Yeah, and so we were invited by Intel, and we got a booth from them. And the deal was that we get a booth from them, and we would create the whole CeBIT area or the Hanover area as a level in Liftoff. And I can tell you, half of the team was already driving to Germany when the other half of the team was still finishing off the environment. It was crazy. We didn't sleep. the night before, it was like crunch time, like working all night to get it done. And somehow we did it, but that was really stressy. And I didn't think I was so afraid. We were in Germany at the fair, we were setting up the booths, and we didn't have the level yet, which was really crazy. But
oh my gosh,
it was like the last minute we got it done somehow.
So they gave you a booth, which you have to pay for, and you built the map in exchange for that. And let me ask you a question: did you come out ahead in that exchange?
Like the value, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it was about the same.
You think you came out about even?
Yeah. I think it. Well, if you look at the cost,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but these booths are really, really expensive as well.
That's true.
And we didn't have to build a booth. We just had to arrive there. There were PCs for us. The whole thing was set up. There's no transportation of anything, so that was easy. And we did pay for our hotel, of course, but
yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Hanover is the most popular map right now.
It is.
It always has been since its release.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the most freestyle friendly,
for sure.
Most exciting one for freestyle, and that's appealing. But at the same time, it's because of the size and the complexity of it, it's also creating a lot of issues for people on low-end systems. So it is something that we struggle with. It's always about finding a good balance, and people always ask for create bigger maps and more complex things. And then at the same time, we hear a lot of people having issues with Liftoff. So it's always a struggle to find a good balance point in that.
Where'd your question go? He asked, Jordan Coward says, I'm new to this whole thing. How is he going forward with hardly any stick movement? Jordan, I'm going to answer that question in a way that the simulator makes uniquely possible. Kevin, can I rotate this camera at all, or is it can I go into line of sight view? Let's see. I'm behind the quad by
Hit
pressing
V.
V.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
B, switch it to line of sight.
I'm behind the quad. Can I actually? I guess I can just rotate the quad.
B is line of sight and V is third person view. Yeah.
B, I see. B
but I
is
think B only works in free flight.
Yeah, I'd have to switch to free flight.
That's okay. That's okay. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So in acro mode, the quadcopter will hold its attitude. So here I am. Let's see if I turn. Okay. So here I am, and I'm hovering, right? If I then push the stick forward to pitch forward, the quad will rotate, and I'm going to do that in a second. But then when I center the stick, the quad will hold its attitude. So I'm going to pitch forward and center the stick, and now you see the quad is holding its attitude, right? And if I want to stop, I have to pitch back to level out again. So the way to fly forward with hardly any stick movement is that you pitch forward, and then the quad just keeps going forward. And you'll only see, and when you turn, you'll see, I can't do this line of sight or do the camera, but you'll see that we put in some right roll and even some pitch back, because when you turn, you actually have to pitch back a little bit because of physics. But it's very common, and it's a very common question for people who have never seen the sticks before, is why do you never pitch back forward? And the reason is because usually you just don't have to. If I need to pitch forward a little bit more, when I'm turning, for example, I can simply not pitch back quite as much, and I'll effectively pitch forward more. The only time you'll really see a pilot pitch forward is when, well, for example, if I misjudge a turn and have to slow down, then you'll see me push to get that forward motion back again. Or, for example, let me go into in camera view. If you'll see me doing a move like this ladder here, you'll see I'll pitch back to slow down entering the ladder, and then I'll pitch forward as I exit the ladder to leave again. So here I go. I'm going to slow down by pitching back. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to hit it. And then as I come out, I'll pitch forward again to get my speed back, right? So here I come again. I screwed that right up. So if you watch the sticks, I'll pitch back to line it up. I'm kind of getting my speed right. This is terrible. I'm never going to pull this off. Yeah. No, I did it. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, you very seldom see a pilot pitch forward, except, watch, here's the takeoff. At the takeoff, I'm going to pitch forward, and that'll set my angle. And then once the angle is set, you actually don't adjust your pitch angle that much by pitching forward. See, here I've lost a little... Yeah, it's terrible. So that's a very common question, and I think it's one reason why stick overlays like this are so valuable to new pilots. It lets you see exactly what the pilot's doing with his sticks, and there's very, very precise things, like the exact combination of roll and yaw that you need to coordinate a turn. You're not going to get that except with experience on your own quad. The exact way to manipulate the throttle to miss the gate, like I just did. That's you can't duplicate that. But just seeing very basic mechanics, like how to coordinate a turn, or why is he not pitching forward? That is something that is really valuable.
And that's one thing that's really cool with Liftoff, is especially with the newer releases, you can actually see the stick overlay of the person you're spectating. So if you were to watch anyone, and I'm in the air, you can see my sticks and what I'm doing at all times.
Yep, we're watching it right now, cool. In fact. Yeah, yep. Another thing that people are commonly surprised about is that in freestyle, you'll go to 0 throttle when you are at the top of a move or something, and people are like, oh, I didn't know that you did that. I'm not sure how helpful your stick overlay is, Hyper, because it's just all a bunch of blah, 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 blah. But, you know, that may be useful if we slowed it down. I do notice, I'll tell you one thing I notice is you're going full stick quite a lot. You've got your rates adjusted so that your full stick deflection is basically just as fast as you need to finish your turns. And it means you get the maximum precision out of those stick movements. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. We can run it just a little bit slower speed to kind of...
Let's see here. What happened to the forged carbon frame with Stingy? Pacific Northwest pilots, I think they're having some trouble sourcing the forged carbon, and it's on delay. I don't know the exact details, but... Oh My Quad FPV asks, is there ever going to be any DJI type drones? Well, maybe not in the Liftoff drone sort of racing simulator, but certainly in the Liftoff Academy, the sort of one that's tailored more towards camera and industrial drones. Kevin? Yeah?
Well, we would love to, but that's more of a business question. I do know that DJI likes to do things mostly in-house, and they also have their own simulator projects, and that's fine. I mean, they're a big contributor to our community and the whole drone industry. So that's great. I would love to work with them. If it's a matter of it's a business question, basically.
Yeah, kind of like how you don't see Porsche and Ferrari in some licensed games because they just don't want to give their license. You know, they want to protect their brand, especially if they have in-house stuff. So that makes sense. Why is the Matty flip in freestyle mode called the delayed front flip? Is that a copyright issue? Certainly not. I don't think Matty has a copyright on that. Kevin?
No specific reason. I mean, it's it depends on if that's defined as that name. I mean, we simply didn't pick that name. But if that's something the community would love, then maybe we can change that.
I'm sure. I know it's hard naming these moves. Everybody has prox flip, and then people get into arguments. I think of all the moves, the Matty flip is pretty universal.
I agree. I think it's a matter of at the moment that we picked the names, we wanted it to be as neutral as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not that we have anything against the Matty flip name. It's
no.
I mean, everyone knows what that is. And I think when we start working on the freestyle mode and started implementing these tricks, not everything was defined at that point. But no specific reason.
You put the Matty flip in, and then everybody's like, well, why didn't you name this one after my favorite pilot? You start taking it personally. You can't win. You can't win.
Yeah. But maybe, I mean, I agree. The Matty flip it's legendary. So everyone knows what that is. So that makes sense to maybe change at some point.
We do have a couple open seats here. I just noticed we only had 4 people in here. One of them is Hyper, who is showing us all how it's done. Let's see. 101, a wrist for Crassus is going to show us. You got a 118. That's really respectable. I mean, I think it's interesting to watch the difference between. I love the ability to spectate this stuff. And spectating, live is... it's okay, but DVR is terrible and the live feed is terrible. And I love watching these guys put their laps in the simulator and seeing the difference between like this time, this 118 time is it's respectable. But the difference between like a 118 and like a 101, just what the pilots who are really fast are doing differently than the pilots who are just kind of fast. So the level of control on the really fast pilots is consistency and smoothness is just so it's practically inhuman. It feels like a robot's flying the quad.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that in real life, but that's also because most people fly with battery simulation turned off, and in real life you would burn your motors and such. And I mean, that's also a interesting conversation I had on the Rotoride group. I think about. When people want realism in a sim, what does that mean exactly? Does it mean is there a difference between realism and authenticity? And so a super realistic situation, if we want pure authenticity, we wouldn't have a reset button, for example. So it's a matter of the simulation code is realistic, but there's a certain technical limitations in real life that we don't add to the sim because maybe it's more fun to have more freedom.
Should have add to purist mode that when you crash, you have to walk in game. You have to use WASD to walk over and pick your quad up.
I have a better idea. You have to really buy your virtual setups. And that's
Oh
how
no,
we,
no! Here it is, loot boxes, Liftoff loot boxes.
Yeah.
Yep, you have to buy a real quad. No, then you lose the advantage of the simulator.
Each time you crash,
Oh
we
my
send you an
gosh.
invoice.
Right. We calculate that you destroyed your camera in this crash. It'll be $20.
Exactly. Yeah, and we make it
Oh.
super harsh. Like you can't hit anything. It's just that's how EA Games might do it. But
That's how it was in the old days.
Oh. Can I ask you, did you ever, this is a loaded question, but hey, did you ever think about putting some kind of like loot box system in the game? Because I know just you can't, game developers, just they're all thinking about it, it seems like.
But we have a loot box system in a way. Like we call it gift boxes, but it's the problem. It's an interesting question, and I think there's nothing wrong with loot boxes. It's a gameplay mechanic. What's wrong is how it's being abused as a business from a business point of view. So it's like in any game, for example, in Zelda, you can find chests in the virtual world, and you open it, and there's some random loot in it. The difference is that some game developers they let you pay for these boxes, and that's the issue. And so in Liftoff, we've added gift boxes, and it's basically another way of calling it loot boxes, but we don't let you pay for it. It's all in game. You never have to pay. There's no microtransactions, and it only involves cosmetic items. So whatever you get out of the box, it's not going to affect or improve your flight. It's purely showing off. It's a bling bling thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, people complain about loot boxes, but I mean, if you go back to, like, I'm thinking of Diablo 1, that was one of the first games I remember that had the sort of grinding for well, I mean, I know there's earlier examples, but that in my gaming history anyway, the idea that you're going to sort of grind for randoms, and some of them are going to be better and some of them are going to be worse, and you're going to build your character that way. Nobody has a problem with that randomness.
It's a gameplay mechanic. It's a gameplay involves like a win condition, and getting loot is a win condition. So take that away, and then the legislators are messing around with gameplay terms and gameplay IDs, which is really dangerous, in fact. But it's companies with bad business practices that give it a bad name, and that's a shame.
Yeah, because there's a point where it crosses over into something. Well, not even. There's a point, frankly, where it crosses over into something that, and maybe I'm showing my age, where it's not fun anymore. And I think I am showing my age there because, like, my son is 7, and he was. You're gonna laugh. So he's just started playing Mass Effect 2, and I'm like, yes. Because normally he plays, it's such a good game. And normally he plays kind of mobile games that are just basically clickers. You literally just sit there and you tap the screen. And he's like, look, I've leveled up. I'm like, you're not doing anything. But he started playing Mass Effect 2. I'm so psyched. He's so into it. And he asked me, Joshua, can I just buy some of these unlocks, or do I have to get the weapon unlocks in game? And I'm like, you can't buy them. You have to earn them through gameplay. But to him, it's just like a mechanic. You buy loot crates, you unlock things. That's just a mechanic to him. But so maybe it's not fun for some people, but it is fun for others.
Yeah.
But there's a point where it becomes almost sleazy, like you were just manipulating people.
Yeah, that's true, and that's the bad practices and it's bad game design sometimes and bad business practices. But the irony of this thing is that games are always an easy target for a lot of media and for politicians because it's new, they don't understand it. So games are bad because they have random loot, but at the same time, we've been selling stickers and Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering cards for years, and those are not being targeted because it's print, which is but in fact it's worse than what most games do, because some of these Magic cards, they are worth a lot, and it's a pure gamble. You buy a pack and you can get more value out of these, but I mean, it's gambling for kids.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I played. Are we switching rooms?
Yeah, I just gave it an update.
Cool. Thank you. And let's go ahead and clear the lobby, too. If you've been in the lobby, give somebody else a chance to jump in. Hyper, thank you for watching. We've been kind of going around, but mostly people are just impressed with you. So just, I'm just enjoying my conversation with Kevin more than I'm enjoying actually crashing a lot. I was going to say, I played Magic the Gathering back in college a little bit. I get it. It's interesting. It has the same randomness. You buy a pack, you open the pack. Maybe it has a card in it that's worth $100 or more.
Black
Maybe
Lotus.
It has garbage. But are the same regulators? Because we don't see a lot of regulation here in the U.S. around this. But I know the European regulators were really on to EA. I think it was about this.
Actually, it's even Belgium is fighting is on the front line of the battle, in fact, and I'm very much involved. So I'm next to being the manager at LuGus Studios. I'm also part of the Flemish Game Association. So we're an association of our local industry, and we've been talking to our local politicians about this because they're taking a stance against games and loot boxes, and they're making world news with it, and then other countries are following them. But we're trying to talk to them, not to say what the decisions they're making, that these are wrong, but we want them to understand what their decisions actually mean and what loot boxes in general are. And so it's very dangerous. The people that make these decisions don't always understand what they're doing, but it's a bit following popular opinions, and then politics, it's always about having an agenda and finding like the black sheep. So it's interesting. We're in the middle of the whole thing right here in Belgium. So
do you see that same regulation being targeted at things like Magic cards, Pokemon cards, which have the same elements of randomness and so forth?
Not at all. Interesting. In fact, I think there's a few rules, especially in Asia. I think in China, games have to show the percentage of the chance percentage that they have of unlocking something. So, for example, if there's a legendary or an epic item, you have to, as a game developer, you have to declare to your players what the chance percentages are. And I agree with those types of rules, but just saying that anything unlocking items in a game is always evil, that's just that's a dangerous statement.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously we can all find examples of sort of benign randomness, and randomness is fun. Determinism is not always fun. Randomness is, that just goes back to the chemistry of how our brains work. In dog training, there's a thing they call slot machining, which I've been learning about dog training. And it basically means that in the beginning, when you train a dog, you want the reward to happen every time he does the right thing, because that helps him learn what it is that he's expected to do. But then once he starts to figure it out, now that you've watched me crash, by the way, let's watch Hyper do a lap. Oh, he's not even racing. So who else do we have? Let's watch Cube. Cube, you're up. But then once he starts to learn what he needs to do, you actually reinforce it more by randomizing it, that if he gets a reward every time, he gets kind of bored. But if sometimes he gets a reward and sometimes he doesn't, then your brain goes, what's going on here? And you actually become more interested. So in as much as games are out there to sort of, if it boils down to it, games are out there to make our brains produce dopamine.
It's like rewards are a tool for game developers to make people do things in a game they might otherwise not do, and that's not always that sounds like manipulation, but that's not always the case. It's about motivating them to do things and to try new things and explore the game more. So that's a valuable tool for game developers. And I would love to know actually from the community. So in the V1 update, we introduced our progression and reward system. And basically what that means is if you have a Liftoff Pro account, which is free and it doesn't cost anything, and the only thing that we save is your nickname and your contact information. That's simply to log the rewards that you've unlocked. So what that does is if you play the game and you you fly a single player race or a multiplayer race, you get some experience points, and after a while you get a reward as a result, and that's a box with some random frame skin, and that means you can have flames on your bot 5 frame, or you can turn. You can have a wooden vortex, for example. It's just cosmetics, and I would love to know from the community how they feel about that, and if they enjoy that, or if they simply ignore it, or just in general, how do they feel about that system?
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you can certainly comment here in the chat. Also, of course, on the Steam, there's a community page for every Steam game, and that I'm sure you guys monitor that very, very closely. Yep.
Have you tried it? The whole.
I signed up
boxes?
on the Pro League. I haven't done a gift box. No.
So normally, if you go to the workbench and you're logged into your Pro account, you can see the amount of boxes that you've gotten, and then, in fact, I can maybe even gift you a few if you want to check it out.
Privileges of being a streamer. Yeah, we can go look at that. Hyper says he's about to have to leave, so he's hosting right now.
Well,
so when he leaves, we'll go check it out. We'll take a look.
Yeah, and I will give everyone in the room boxes, so that will
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Richard
Rhodes. Richard Rhodes says, "I wish they still showed the little circles that identify the gate while you are spectating someone else, so you could kind of anticipate, I guess, where the track is going."
Right.
Maybe an option.
There's probably a reason why we don't do that, but honestly, I don't know for sure. But I'll write it down, and maybe I'll talk about it with the team.
I don't remember ever doing that, to be honest.
Okay, Cube, sorry? We're off you, Cube. You don't have to stress anymore. Hyper's up. Hyper, what did you just say?
I just said they don't remember when spectating had circles for gate checkpoints.
Yeah, I don't think it. I mean, the spectating is still relatively new. It didn't used to be able to do it at all. But yeah.
Well, actually, spectating has been in multiplayer since the beginning, but a lot of the features are new. Like the stick overlay is very new. Yeah, the room is full again. Well, there's actually a lot of rooms open. Cool.
For sure. Well, probably a lot of people playing because of the free weekend. You know what we should do is we should jump in someone else's room after Hyper. After you shut down, let's go jump in somebody else's room and surprise them. Swashed FPV says adjustable KV on a slider would be great. I think that Kevin, I suspect adjustable KV on a slider is not going to be as easy to simulate as all that. You guys have to. What kind of work goes into like simulating a motor, for example?
Well, actually, not that much. I mean, most of the work involves the art, so we want it to look good, and then we get specs from the manufacturer, or we look for specs. And the difficulty about this is that the specs that we get are not always the real specs, and it's not because these manufacturers are lying about that, but it's not always easy to get the exact specs. So it's I'm not sure if that answers the question, but
so could we give, I mean, if we had a motor and somebody said, well, I want to try a slightly lower KV version of the motor.
Oh, right. Well, that defeats some of the main concept of Liftoff, and I know a lot of the other sims offer sliders to easily tweak things, and I think that's fantastic. But we try to have a more authentic experience in creating a setup and tuning it. So we don't. If you want a different motor, then the idea is that you would pick a different one in the workbench. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think right. You're trying to simulate the actual motor, and simply the other thought that I have though is that simply changing the KV of the motor in the software would not. I mean, it would change the RPM at the prop perhaps, and the thrust, but it's not necessarily going to create the exact same experience as a lower KV motor in real life. There are other effects that it has. We've joined Mint's room here. Mint was on the stream earlier. Now he was in my room. Now I'm in his. and he's got it set to free flight. And I think that's perfect because I'm just going to do some, sometimes I just like literally, I like to just try to fly as smoothly as I can. See how I bumped the throttle there? I hate that. I think Tommy, and we're actually flying Tommy's remix frame right now in the simulator. He really just is the epitome of this style of flying. I once famously, way back when, before I had a channel, I was just like some guy on YouTube. I once famously speculated that he was flying with a gimbal because he flew so smooth. I just thought it was inhuman. And I looked at his video and was like, the horizon is not moving. He has to be using a gimbal. And now he gives me a hard time about it now that we work together. But I like to just fly as smoothly as possible. And people say, how can I get to fly more smoothly? And I think just trying to move the sticks as little as you can. See, like I'm getting really low, so I kind of want to raise the throttle. See, I knew I was going to have to go over that hill, so I raised the throttle a little. But just make the smallest possible throttle moves and stick movements. And it's so relaxing sometimes just to let the ground swing by you. And the beautiful thing is, in the simulator, I don't have to worry about losing video. I can just fly anywhere I want to go.
Hey guys, it was a pleasure hanging out. I'm gonna head out now.
Hyper,
Have a good one.
You're a good pilot.
Thanks. See ya, guys.
Talk to you later. Bye bye. So everyone in the room that has a Liftoff Pro account got 5 additional gift boxes. So hopefully there's something good in it.
Awesome. Just random skins and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I do have to state, like, for them to be activated, you have to re-log into your Pro account. So that's when the game triggers that you got this reward. So
got you.
And I notice you're level 7 right now. So you should have gotten 7 boxes so far. Not sure if you've opened one. But the cool thing is, and that's something I love to do when I go to multiplayer room. If you click on someone's name in the room lobby, then you can actually watch what they're flying. And in some cases, when they've shared it on the Steam Workshop, you can actually download their setup. And I'm noticing that both Mint and Mr. D have really cool skins for their frames. So cool.
Let's go look at that. I'm gonna jump out of this room, Mint. I'll come back in a second. Yeah, Stonewolf, I'm a little bit embarrassed to only be level 7 here, but the truth is I don't get to fly real quads nearly as much as I would like because my number one priority is making videos. So if it's a beautiful day outside and I haven't made a video yet today, I stay inside and make the video. I don't just blow it off and go out and fly. But it also means I don't get to, between flying in real life and flying in the simulator, I obviously am flying in real life more. So what do I need to do to check out this gift box, Kevin?
Yeah, so go to Workbench, and then there should be, you'll see a floating box icon in the Workbench, and if you click on that, you should get an animation.
Where's the floating box? Let's see. I don't see it.
Maybe you've already unlocked them in the past?
I don't know. Downloads? No. Community runs my fleet.
No, just if you, like, in the Workbench scene. So if you select drone,
I need to go into the drone.
Yeah, because like it's also the place where you can add the cosmetics. And I'm following you on the stream, and there's a bit of a delay, so I can check instantly. But yeah, so the box always contains 3 items, and you can pick one of them. So it's not purely random. There's also an element of choice, and there's you have blue versions, purple ones, and golden ones. And
I got it. I got the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Oh, cute. I like the graphic. Okay, we're gonna open the box. I guess I'm gonna click the. I feel just like I'm playing Hearthstone. Let's see. Props. So I don't really fly bi-blade props, so I'm gonna take the swirly skin. Yep. I'm not really interested in bi-blade props. All right. Very nice. Yep, I can just feel that dopamine. Okay, here we go. Next box. Okay.
So, so this is an answer to your question. Will you have loot box? But I can promise we won't sell boxes. That's not something that we're going to do. So
And someone in the chat said, pay to win is bad. They don't like pay to win. And here, these are purely cosmetic upgrades. I think I'm gonna pick these.
So it's just bling bling.
Tri-blights. Yeah, very nice.
It's about showing off, and there's some rare things. And then what we also have is so for the Halloween tournaments, there was an event exclusive skin. So it has a little witch hat and stuff like that. So it's all themed, and it's purely cosmetic.
That's cute. Yeah.
And it shows up in the main screen, but also if you do a race in multiplayer, the race result, like you see the winning frames, and I've seen people like, oh cool, you have the golden props for this one or that one, and that's cool. That's what we wanted to do. And yeah.
Which one's more rare, the gold one?
Gold is rare, yeah. So you notice if you click on the bar, you see a little shiny effect, and if it's purple, that's so blue is common, then purple is a bit more rare, and then gold is super rare. And gold is either a golden prop or a really fancy frame skin.
So I should take the gold one if I have the chance. Super rare.
Well, it depends. Doesn't mean that gold doesn't always mean that it's the best thing per se. It's whatever you prefer.
I got to take the Rotoride antenna. I mean, I'm just obligated to do that. Obviously. Okay, 2 more. Let's see here. Just you guys on the stream are just watching me open gift boxes. This is it. This is the final culmination of my career as a gamer.
I'm really sorry about this.
Okay. I'm gonna fix. Look at my up tilt. Look at my up tilt. Look, where's the camera? Is that it? Can I fix the up tilt there? Let's see. How do I do that? Camera?
Yeah, camera and then edit. You see an edit tab?
Edit part, yeah. There we go.
And
60?
there's the slider.
Oh, there it is. Hello. Let's put that back. I usually fly at about 30. How do I get a number? Can I not put it? Hey, can it work? Why can't I just type 30? Come on.
Yeah, it's it's a slider thing.
Awesome. Well, let's see here. Kevin, we got a little less than a half hour left on this stream. For those of you who have enjoyed this and can't get enough, we are going to be doing another stream. For those of you who are at work right now in the US, we're going to be doing another stream starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time, going 6 to 9 tonight. Kevin, I assume you're going to be sleeping, so it's just going to be me. I'll be holding my own.
Yeah, I'm super tired. I stayed up late last night because actually the free weekend event was supposed to start 5 hours earlier. So I stayed up until 3 a.m. just to make sure I could make the announcement whenever it was available. And I'm super tired now. It's yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be getting some sleep, but I'll be back at 6. There is a link. It should be on the live stream on my channel right now. No skins. Okay. Oh, I see, for the camera. Yeah. And what do you think we should do for the last half hour? What do you think? Is it possible to get the $5? I was Cube in the previous session, didn't have a Liftoff Pro account.
Who says that?
Sorry, I'm throwing like 4 questions at you. Cube in the previous session did not have a Liftoff Pro account, just made one, and wants to make sure he gets the $5 you sent out.
I can only do that if I see him in a room. So it's
okay.
But
let's see.
Yeah, let's see if he's in a room. I'll search for him.
Maybe let me jump in a room. Let's see if we can take care of that. I hate for someone to miss out. Let me save my drone and back out here. Let's pick a room. We'll jump in. Or Cube, if you create a room. Maybe Kevin can just jump in and hit you real quick. Let's see what we got. Infinite Race, Race 01. Oh, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Watch this, you guys. Infinite Race, Straw Bale, Track 01.
That's the only Liftoff track that was not made with the track builder tool. That's that was made like 5 minutes before the first early access release. It was just like, oh, we forgot to add a track to it. And
Really?
I
You
quickly
made the
put
whole
some
game, but you
gates
didn't
in,
have a
in
track?
Unity. No, I didn't even test fly it. It's just we put it in. We just put some random. I put some random gates on the terrain. We put it in the game. We released it, and now it's the most played track in Liftoff ever. Also because it's the first made available and it's easy to learn on. But yeah,
I raced this track. Just I don't know why. It's a simple track. It's not too difficult, and it makes me feel like a better pilot because I feel like I can be. It's gonna. I mean, It's my first pack, so I'm gonna be a little bit off right now. But I feel like after I practice a little bit, I can go pretty fast. I mean, not as fast as like Hyper, but I race this track constantly because I feel mildly competent. Then I go and I race the parking garage, and I'm like, I know I'm a better pilot. I struggle with that so much. Like I can fly in parking garages. I'm not like ultra fast, but I don't like crash into the ceiling a million times. But for some reason in the simulator, I just can't do it. I don't know what my problem is.
It's super hard. It's really tiny as well. It's 2 meters, and that's the exact size as the real place because it's a real parking lot.
Yeah.
But it's super hard. Yeah.
I remember a video of Boris B and Metal Danny racing in a parking garage, and it was really
it's that
impressive.
one. It's the same one.
It's the same one.
Yeah. So I've been like actually that was a parking lot really close to our studio, but we moved places by now. But that was the parking lot next to our studio, and we organized the first Belgian drone racing get-arounds there. So we got permission from the mayor of Genk, the city where it's located at, and they gave us permission to fly there. And so that's how the idea for that level started.
That's really interesting. Now that we're on a track where people can actually finish a lap, we're actually seeing some, we're actually getting some competition.
Dogfighting.
This is one of the arguments about X-Class. I got to fly an X-Class drone. For those of you in the chat maybe who don't know, X-Class is basically 1 meter size drone racing. And people say, what's the point? And the point is that big, terrifying motors are awesome and good for spectators. And one of the things you see more of in X-Class racing is kind of head-to-head competition. Because the drones are a little bit slower and not as maneuverable, it kind of forces the pilots to be a little more aware of each other and makes for a little bit of a better spectator experience. Whereas with mini quads, you're often just like going so fast, you just pass the other guy or you crash into him or whatever.
And not just easier to spectate from a pure business point of view, you can put a big logo on it as well.
There you go.
I mean, I've talked to some event organizers who are into big drones, and I mean, I know there's multiple names. You have the X class, you have Freedom class, and there's a few others. But eventually, it all comes down to big drones, and there's it's not just easier for spectators, but it makes it more appealing to get investors for the event or sponsors, you could say, involved. Which is not unimportant. I mean, these events, they cost a lot of money, and someone has to pay for it. So it's
it ties in. I had a video just recently this week about digital high def video and why it's challenging, and of course I said it's nearly impossible, which I admit it, that was a little clickbaity, but the point the point boiled, and people in the comments are saying, well, I've just upped my up tilt, now I can't fly, sorry, I was like going to try to get a faster lap. The people in the comments were saying, you're wrong, it's not impossible, we just have to, with enough money anything's possible. And That's true, but my point kind of boils down to that there isn't enough money in drone racing to demand the kind of technological advancement that would make these things possible. And when you see things like X-Class, the X-Class is not first and foremost about the pilots. Pilots love to fly little 5-inch quads on fiddly, stupid courses that only other pilots can enjoy watching them fly. It's about the spectators and the sponsors, because that makes money. But if you're concerned about why can't we have great digital video, well, it's because there's not enough money in the sport. So the guys who are trying to bring money in the sport, I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, is that so filthy? We just want the purity of the sport. Well, if you want great, bringing money into the sport can make the sport better. It's not guaranteed to, but it can make the sport better.
Yeah, and it's I mean, the business aspect of FPV, it's really, you can't ignore it. And a business sounds like a dirty word, but it's the driving force for something like FPV. And yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of pilots, but it's not always enough to make big productions possible. Or
exactly.
In some way, for us, that's been a blessing, because it means that a small company like is able to make to compete or to make a big name within a small community. If the FPV community was bigger, then potentially big game studios would jump on the sim market and we would be done for. But it's so it creates both opportunities, but at the same time, it's also a limiting factor.
Yeah. The size of the FPV market is very small in an absolute sense. The number of pilots, I've heard people estimate the number of FPV pilots in the single-digit hundreds of thousands, which is, I mean, that's a lot of people, but at the same time, it's not a lot of people.
I've always been told it's about, well, no, 2 years ago, it's about 100,000 people. 100,000 active pilots. I'm not sure what the number is right now, but that's actually not a lot, because if that's the number, and that's not the amount of times that we sold Liftoff, but then if that's the actual number, then we have to start being concerned about reaching market saturation with Liftoff.
Absolutely.
Which is a concern to some extent. But that's why we feel that initiatives like what Rotorite, what Chad Capper is doing with the controller, the game controller, those are really good initiatives, and I hope he succeeds in getting fresh blood into the FPV community and getting people interested, because it's a big thing for us. Well, for everyone, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, if you say there's 100,000 people and they each buy Liftoff at $20, then that's it. You're done. You just made your money, and there's no incentive. Once you spend it, there's no incentive for improvement or anything.
Yeah, and that's an actual concern of ours.
Yeah,
it's actually, we're getting close to that number, which is super. I mean, we're really proud of that. But it's the question is the community growing fast enough for and are the people buying Liftoff fast enough to warrant the continued development of Liftoff? And it's something that we would love to do. Like as mentioned, as long as the community supports us, we would love to evolve and improve Liftoff as long as we can. But there's potentially going to be a limit at some point.
Yeah.
But hopefully not soon.
Well, that's when you just release Liftoff 2.0 and make everybody buy it again.
Well, actually, that's why Liftoff Academy is a concept. It's instead of Liftoff Academy. If we launch that, it doesn't mean the end of Liftoff, the current Liftoff. It's going to be a second product, but that's basically us trying to reach other drone-related market, because the drone market is not just a niche on its own. It's FPV is a niche within a niche.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, the drone market is actually much larger if you count all of the DJI owners and so forth. I'm literally in last place right now. 26. Am I still in last? 2680. Yes. No, I'm still in last place in this room. That's embarrassing. I'm gonna have
It's
to up
because
my
we're
up tilt
talking.
and there you go. Yeah, that's. If only that were true.
And the floatiness and
Um. So now I'm at 60 degrees. The floatiness, haha. And at 60 degrees, I notice a lot more of the effect where when you hit the throttle, the drone goes forward instead of up. There's a lot less potential for the drone to sort of pop up as you raise the throttle.
We're at 60 degrees?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I was flying at 40.
Well, I find that that's how to get faster times.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, at first you crash a lot because you're not used to it, but then you start to dial it in and you get faster. I know I can do a better time on this course than the 28. I've done 22 for sure. Yeah, 60 degrees feels way better than 50, to be honest, because you're just pushing forward. 26, damn it. You're just pushing forward. I don't know what that glitching is. Yeah, no, I hear that too, guys. Sorry. I hear that too.
Glitching?
There's an audio glitch that's happening. I'm not really sure what it is. Let's see.
Is it me?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I will mute my microphone for a second and see if that helps. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. Bonk. Yep.
Did that do anything?
It's not happening. It's sporadic. Always embarrassing when you crash right off the line, isn't it? I just saw somebody crash out in front of me. This, I feel, is the time to make mistakes. That little run there is where you can really get on the throttle, in my experience. If you have to not miss this turn, not screw up this turn. Yeah.
I just crushed him at the finish line as well.
Oh, what was your time going to be?
I have no idea. I never look at the time
22. Oh my god, everyone in the room is beating me. All right. It's embarrassing. Okay. Oh, is there a plan? A couple people have asked about this, Kevin. Is there a plan to implement better lens simulation, like the Velocidrone lens simulation? Fisheye is not really like the real cams out there. We can, by the way, you can press the F key to see fisheye like this, but I wonder if that's not exactly what people are asking.
Yeah, we get that request often, and yeah, we're looking into it. Although I do have to say that it's what I notice, and it's perfectly normal, and I understand why. Every time one of the sims innovates in something, then the fans of the other sims, they ask the same thing. And so what you end up with is sims that always have the same set of features. And so what we don't want to do is copy exactly what the others do. But if the community asks for it a lot, and they do ask us a lot about the lens effects, then that's definitely something we have to listen to. And it's an interesting technical challenge as well. So we're looking into it.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because there's a balance, because if all you do is spend all day imitating what other people do, then you sort of lose the character that makes you unique and what you have to contribute. But at the same time, if there's a great feature in some other sim that everybody wants and you ignore that, then you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and we definitely don't look at the other sims and say, hey, what can we copy? And I don't think they're doing that way. But it's actually the community that drives, the requests from the community that always that always reflect what they see in other sims, and then in a more indirect way you start copying each other. But it's copying is never a goal. It's always about what does the community want, and does that make sense, and can we do that? And and then there's also a thing about, and Apple is a master in that. It's sometimes also about giving your consumer something they really want but didn't know they want.
For sure. That's the true innovation.
Yeah, and that's not always easy. And we failed on, we have a lot of features that we really proud about, that we spend a lot of development time on, and that we expected the community to enjoy. And then when you implement it, you notice that no one actually cares, and you learn a lot from that. And again, that's perfectly fine. You can't force people to use your features, but it's an interesting process. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to know about the gift box things. It's something that we gambled on. Like, is that something players might want? We don't know for sure. And we do see people open these boxes and use some of these skins, but we're not really sure if it changes the way they play the game, or if they see that as a big addition to Liftoff, if that enhances their experience. That's not something that we know right now.
Yeah. Speaking of the gift boxes, there's several people who were in the room but didn't have a pro account who are asking in the chat if they can get their gift boxes. I don't know what the best way to handle that is, but
I will go to the room lobby, and are they in the room right now?
They're not in the room at this exact moment, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I don't know. Do you want to? Maybe you could make a room for people just to get the box. They really want the box. I know you probably want to take care of them. We don't want to be like sorry.
I'll make a room, and I'll call it a gift box, and then
okay. So you're gonna you guys are gonna go to the custom room gift box. Let me just jump out of this room. Oh, whoops! I was the host. Well, I guess you guys are all kicked out. Sorry. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna do join room by name, and then room is gonna be gift box. And then once you jump in that room, you can get your gift box and jump back out. And thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, just give me a minute to do that. Okay. Let's see.
Thank you.
We'll actually do it in your level.
Sure.
That would be fitting.
Yeah, once you get your gift box, then jump out, and because there can only be 6 people in the room at a time.
So gift box, no spaces and no capital letters, just gift box.
Will RealFlight USB adapter work with Liftoff? Athix asks. It will work with any game controller, so I'm pretty sure the answer to that is yes, but I can't verify that for sure. It'll work with any game controller. Oh, Popo, if you're having audio issues, you might need to just reload the stream. But we're actually getting pretty close to the end of this stream. We started at 10, 11, 12, 1. It'll have been 3 hours. There is going to be another stream again tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time for those of you who are staying up late in Europe or in the U.S. So definitely check my channel. Check back for that tonight at 6 if you want to see more of the same. How do you get rid of the horizontal bar? John Jensen asks. You can turn off the OSD elements, right? Kevin, is there a specific button to get rid of just the, I think he means probably the horizon, the artificial horizon.
No, there's no shortcut button for it, or it's an option in game options.
Yes.
And it's another request I've seen from the communities, like customizable HUD. And it's another thing we might explore in the future.
So you can turn, I'm here in the graphics. No, it's going to be in the game options. And you can turn off use on-screen display. And that will get rid of all of the OSD elements, which I personally, as you can see, I fly with those off. By the way, this is my favorite option that you ever put in, Kevin. Automatically skip goggle animation. That goggle animation is cute like the first 3 times. And then you're like, I get it. Fat Shark sponsored you.
Well, actually, that was not the motivation. But yeah, it's one of those early ideas. Then you implement it because the community doesn't like it. So yeah, we added the skip animation thing.
Gift box. Yeah, Nordic Blue RC. You won't see the room. You need to manually type in the name. So I'm going to show you one more time. You need to go multiplayer. If you want to get the gift box that Kevin's giving out, multiplayer, lobby, Red Warrior FPV. Kevin's giving out gift boxes that you get, custom skins, basically. We've started an avalanche now, Kevin. Sorry. That's what you're going to do for the rest of the night. Or you're going to join room by name, and you're going to just put in gift box. Gift box. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do that for 5 minutes. Then.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, we gotta.
But they need. It's important. For them to find them in the workbench, they need to relog into their pro account. So log out and log in again, and that should activate them.
Okay.
And you need a pro account, of course.
Right. Alrighty. That is... Yeah, the room's full. Gamer's Life. Just keep trying to get in. People will get their box. They'll get out. And hopefully in the next 5 minutes you make it. And if not, then I'm sorry. But that is going to bring us to the end of this stream. I've had a great time playing Liftoff with you guys. And I have a new perspective on just how much better than me y'all are, but somehow or another I am the one with the YouTube channel, so figure that out. But I've had a great time watching you guys and playing Liftoff with you. Kevin, thank you. I didn't actually expect you to spend the entire 3-hour stream, so I really appreciate your time. It's just been great. I always get to talk to you guys, the guys behind the scenes who the public doesn't get to see. And I think you guys are super interesting and cool. And so it's always fun for me to be able to, get that out there so everybody can find out how interesting and cool you are.
Thanks for the kind words. I mean, we're not used to talking in public like this, but I had a really fun time.
Awesome.
Fun conversation and really awesome questions from the community, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah. And you guys are, and again, I'm not just saying this because you're here, but you guys are super responsive to community requests. I mean, I've watched it happen over the years. People comment and you guys always pay attention. So you guys, if there are things you want to see from Liftoff, probably the Steam community. There's a Discord server as well. What's the best way to get that stuff to you?
I think the most active community channel is the Liftoff community group on Facebook, and then on Discord we are very active, and we're actually doing something really cool in the next update with Discord. We will have a bot that will give information in Discord of what's going on in the game. Like if there's a new tournament, you will see that in our Discord channel. So we're very much embracing those channels. So yeah, and then there's, of course, as you mentioned, the Steam, the Liftoff Steam forums. So
awesome.
Yeah,
so if you have suggestions, requests, certainly bug reports, definitely get those in. Not a guarantee that it'll get done, but these guys definitely are paying attention and are doing the things that they can to make the game better. So
we try our best.
Yeah, and fueled by great Belgian beer and fries.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds so bad, but it's.
You guys, you guys took me out and showed me the best that Hasselt has to offer: beer, chocolate, fries. What more could you ask? And Liftoff. What more could you ask for in life? So, all right, guys, we're gonna close down the stream. Liftoff is free on Steam until Monday, like sometime maybe midnight Sunday. I don't know exactly when it'll end, but it's free this weekend. Play it all you want, and if then if on Monday you find yourself going, no, I want to play it more, then you have to buy it. But it's free all weekend, and definitely give it a chance. I'll be back in about 5 hours at 6 p.m. Eastern. For now, I'm gonna get out of here. See you guys.